You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Well, hey there, all you triathlon studs and studettes. This is Coach Brett, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon. Hey, this show is going to be really useful for all of you out there training and racing, trying to get your triathlon on, and trying to figure it out. We have an interview with Angela Naeth, who won the Ironman, the inaugural Ironman Chattanooga with a smoking bike ride. And also, it's her first Ironman where she says she totally nailed down the nutrition. And I grill her on, get it, grill, food, nutrition. I grill her on what she ate, what she's been eating in training, and pacing, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's a really handy interview. It's about 35 minutes long for those of us that are trying to figure out long course. I also do a review of Kona as it went down and give you some nutrition and pacing and heat related tips that you may find really handy. And then we go on into the training log. Well, actually, after that, we do emails, answer some questions, and then we get into the training log, and I get into how I got fast on the bike. I've had a huge jump in performance on the bike, and I did it with a very specific set of methods that you can easily duplicate if you pay attention and listen to what I'm saying. And what's so cool about a podcast is you can rewind this, play it over and over again. And also, I'm available out in the real world at twitter.com under the at ZenTriathlon handle. So let's go ahead and get started with, let's do Angela's interview first. And then we'll talk about Kona and what went down. All right, so here's Angela, champion of Ironman Chattanooga. I think it's her third Ironman, and she nailed it, absolutely smoked it, and she's going to tell us how she did it. All right, here we go. Here's Angela.
Hello.
Hey, Angela, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. Well, I got to close my door or else my dogs are going to bark at whatever walks by on the street. Hey. Sounds good on a podcast, I'm sure.
Yes.
Hey, Roxy, baby, come here. Come on, you too. Kona, come here. Come on.
Your dog's name's Kona?
Yeah.
That's so cliche.
It's inspiration. Motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of getting to Kona or trying to get there?
Oh my gosh. All the time.
Really?
Yeah. Every year I get a little closer, and my thing is nutrition, which I actually wanted to. That's why I was asking you about that in our email.
Oh, well, very cool.
So that's why I had such.
Well, you've talked to so many different people. You don't have a plan yet?
I only had enough money for 1 year of really good coaching, and I think that if I signed up with, you don't mind if we go ahead and start recording, do you?
Oh no, not at all.
Okay. I think that if I had the funds, I would sign up with Jesse Kropelnicki.
Nice.
And get it worked out on what. And every month or so, I get something nutritionally worked out, and it ends up working out really, really good. So I've yet to have a really good Ironman performance like I should. Mm-hmm. That's like that's at my level of what training shows I can do and what my half Ironmans show I can do. Mm-hmm. So if I do, I'm looking at a sub 10 hour, which is really good for an age grouper. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's very awesome.
So all right, I got an awesome list of questions for you. And I'm super stoked to have you on.
Yes.
And I think you're probably super stoked to be on to talk about what happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I would be too. This is really big. So, you won Ironman Chattanooga. I saw they sent you a whole bunch of Little Debbie stuff.
They did. It was funny because at the end of the race, it just started to rain a little, and so you get really cold quickly. And so my initial thing was just to get warm. Mm-hmm. So I missed all that post race food. I grabbed one slice of pizza, I think, but I didn't even have the whole thing because I was just freezing. I just wanted to get warm, and so I missed all the Little Debbies that were out there, and I needed a fix.
Yeah, and Chattanooga is absolutely a beautiful part of the country. And I grew up. Our family's lake house is one lake north of there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's just so gorgeous, so beautiful.
So is your lake connected to the river?
Yeah,
okay.
It's on the Tennessee River, and the Tennessee River channel itself in that lake flows almost just like a couple hundred feet. The house is up on a bluff. And so if you jump off the dock and swim out a little bit, then it's probably 200 feet deep right there where that channel goes down.
Oh, nice.
And it's just such a pretty part of the world.
Yeah, actually, the day after the race, we were able to go on a boat with some locals there, and they took us up the river, and then we went into, I forget what it's called, but it brings you up a level, and then you go into a lake.
Yeah.
Like the gates going in and out of the river. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Yeah. So those barges go up the river that way, and they'll carry coal or whatever, and they have to break the barges apart, and those are locks. That's what it's called. Yes. And then they reassemble the barge on the upside or downside of the locks, and the lake that our house is on Watts Bar Lake, which is up one more lake or two. I think. So you went, this is crazy. You went 8:54, which, right? And do I have that right? 8:54?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you went 8:57, but then they corrected for timing start differences. And I was like, holy crap, 8:54.
Well, the swim was downstream. So
yeah, but the bike was long, right? So
it was. So if you do the math, it kind of correlates because I think it took 8 minutes for that last 4 miles of the bike. And I guess you could justify putting the 8 minutes onto the swim, but either way, it was a race, and that's just how the race was, and how it played out. So
and that actually kind of worked out to your advantage for the bike to be long, I guess. Now that
the more time on two wheels, the better.
Yeah, the better. So you've done. This is your third Ironman. Mm-hmm. And your first one was Tahoe a year ago, and you got like fifth or something, I believe. And and you were doing that one mostly for the experience. And we interviewed you after that, right?
You did.
Yeah, that was a fun interview. And then you did Melbourne, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I forgot what place did you get in that one?
I believe I was 6th or 5th.
Okay.
But I had a disastrous experience, and so I try to wipe it from my memory.
Well, did you get to see any kangaroos or anything while you were out there?
I didn't get to see a kangaroo. Oh. I did. I absolutely loved Australia. I had a great homestay with 2 gals, and we had so much fun. I was there for about 2 weeks. Yeah. But the actual race itself didn't go quite as planned. So.
So what happened?
Well, I think I did have Giardia, but I didn't know at the time.
Oh, that's right. I remember you
diagnosed with Giardia until May.
Yeah.
So I actually dealt with a lot of issues for 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't quite sure what it was, and finally I just went to a doctor and got a pill that would actually kill Giardia. And the very next day it was because I guess if you take this pill after 24 hours, if you do have it, it'll make you change back to where you're supposed to be, 100%.
So
and that's exactly
what
happened.
Yeah.
So I actually think I got it in Panama. The water isn't too safe down there, I don't think, to actually swim in. so that's probably where it started. But and so the race itself, mile 10 onward, even before the race, I was having a lot of issues, and then mile 10 onward was just lots of GI issues. Couldn't really feed myself during the bike, and just a lot of disastrous issues in terms of fueling properly, and so it was hard to get something on paper of what I wanted to do, because Tahoe is such a different race in itself. You know, it's freezing cold, and you know, if you compare that Ironman to any standard Ironman, you know, it was snowing before the race, so it was just more of a survival during Tahoe, and I think I could have gotten away with a lot during there because it was a lot slower up there, and just a totally different race than what I would assume an Ironman would be as my first one.
Yeah, but maybe next time you do a tropical race, then right afterwards, you just go ahead and get the Giardia pill.
Yeah, you know, now that I know that there is something like that out there, that's actually a really good idea.
That probably wouldn't be, so at Chattanooga, you averaged 24 miles per hour on the bike for the full 116 miles. Which I
think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at your average, and 24.0, like on the button. And do you post your watts from workouts or from races at all?
You know, I haven't, and I guess I could. You know, that would be an option to definitely do. You know, I use SRM. And have all my power data files and stuff, and it's been great to have, because you know, you can see the changes throughout year to year and race to race. So, but I've never actually done that. Maybe I will actually.
Did you? Okay, so we're gonna get nerdy here for a moment. Do you know if you like negative split it, or did you?
I did not actually because I hit my mile. Like, I broke the race into quarters, so every 28 miles. So when I was racing, I don't necessarily look at power all the time, but the times were 110, 110, 110, 108, and then I did the last and changed for the last 4 miles that we had extra on the bike.
Okay, but let's see. Yeah, I think SRM would be stoked to have you post that. That's so cool, especially because you're, and Specialized too, because you're such the queen of the bike. It'd be pretty neat for people to see that, and it gives people something to work towards. You know.
Yeah, you know, I always don't put, like, I guess maybe I'm kind of naive in that sense, but I don't put too much stock into wattage because. Well, it obviously shows how much work I've done, but I mean, as a day-to-day manner, I do look at it, but I also look on the fact that every race is so different, you know. It's good to have as a result number and then to compare yourself for other races, but I think things change. Like, you have to use power, but then you also have to look at the race itself, like the weather, the dynamics of the race. You know, I raced all by myself. I was able to race my own race where, you know, somewhere like Kona or somewhere in the men's race even, you know, they had a pack of 10, 20 guys together, and that changes your power output dramatically. So
I just have a hard time believing that there's enough of a draft effect the way you guys are spaced out, but everybody keeps saying there is on the bike. Enough to stay with a pack.
Even if it's a mental break, you know, if you have someone ahead of you and you can and the only thing you need to do is keep up with that wheel. Yeah. It's like, it's a mental break. And so that's a lot less stress on your system. And so in that sense, you know, I think aerobically everything just seems a lot better. But power wise, I believe there is a draft. There is a huge draft when I'm behind other people, when I'm just training, and I'm definitely within those meters. Yeah. So I don't know the exact numbers, of course, but I know there's one for sure.
So to set up this interview, I emailed you and said, hey, you know, you want to do an interview? And then also I said, hey, what did you do on this race? Because I think you mentioned in the press or in an interview or something that you worked on your nutrition and got a whole bunch of stuff figured out. And I said, if you want to say what you did, or if you can't, can you tell me? Because I want to know. And you said, I'll tell anybody because Jesse Kropelnicki helps you out, right? And
he did. A friend of mine, Doug McLean, works with QT too, but I actually contacted the Core Diet and Jesse. And so Core Diet's kind of a separate entity, but they're combined by the same person.
Yeah.
But what I did, I connected with him because they had definitely help out a lot of triathletes, athletes of all sorts in terms of any type of nutrition issues. So I first inquired and read a lot on their website, and I thought, well, it's worth a try. I've tried other things in training. I've tried, different type of ratios of macronutrients, and I just always had some type of GI issue.
Yeah.
So I decided to contact the Core Diet, and they definitely helped provide me a plan, and I had to kind of rehaul the way that I thought.
Yeah.
And that took a while, actually. But the more practice I had in training, the less GI issues I had post-training, because I would actually have issues during training.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly kind of progressed into where I felt confident, and I had a plan and objective in terms of what I wanted to eat on the bike and the run, and just to keep hydrated and ready to race. And so it's my third one. It was my first time kind of working with them and their plan, and it worked out. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I had a really good interview with Jesse on the show maybe half a year ago to a year ago. And it was so good. I think so many people needed to hear that. We talked about the fueling window where people don't eat enough, and then they go into the run, and they've missed their window of getting in enough calories to be able to run off of. And I want to ask you about that in a second. But what were you doing before, and then what did you change to that they pointed out to you that made
well,
such a difference?
I have like Mark Allen's always advised me to try to get in 300 calories an hour. And whenever I would try it on the bike, I wouldn't do it in all my training, and so it was very hard for me to ingest that. But he knew that's pretty much what I needed if I wanted to run well off the bike.
Right.
And so I would try, and it was just hard for me to get them in. And I think it was what I was eating prior to working out also, and just kind of putting it all together. It was a big puzzle. And so, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. What was the main question?
Well, what were you doing before, and then what were you doing after?
What was I doing before? Yeah. So prior, a lot of the times I wouldn't even eat on the bike. I'd ride for 2 or 3 hours and just drink water and, try to get into that fat burning metabolism and just go by feel. A lot of people experience by feel, and I could ride, I could train. I definitely was training well, but I would have a lot of on and off days. I would, the next day maybe not feel as good, or it would be two or 3 days later, and I'd have a really crappy training day, and so there was no consistency in that sense. And so I started just actually working with the Core Diet and looking at the windows, what I could eat prior to training, having a little bit of grains here and there prior and post, and getting the recovery shaken, and it was just a whole change of what I used to do. I used to eat a lot of high fat prior to training, and that stuff would stay in my gut. I even tried eating a lot of fat during rides.
Yeah, tried that.
And and I could definitely train that way, but to correlate that to a very high intensity race, and even Ironman, it didn't work in Melbourne. And although I did have Giardia, I still have a lot of issues, and I just did not want to experience that ever.
I have done exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I got kind of sucked into doing too much of the high fat stuff, and then not eating enough, during workouts to try to do the fat burning zone and all that. And then the more I pay attention to what Jesse said, and and some other pros that have worked with him. And I'm trying to think. Sammy Inkinen, who's a high fat guy, and low sugar and all that other stuff, but really really reading between the lines in his blog posts about training and what he was doing, which was, let's say we're just talking about cycling, off the bike, really high quality diet, like very, very high quality. And then as you get really close to a workout, and then during the workout, and then after the workout, you really make a goal out of getting in the calories that you need. And then your workout's not over until you had your recovery, your recovery fuel, food, whatever. And then what that does is that sets you up so that when later, when you're not working out, you're not craving all kinds of carbs and all kinds of stuff again, because you've gotten them in during your workout when you need them and in your rebuilding and your recovery. And then you can go back to eating healthy again, and higher protein, lower carb, while you're not working out. And then it's like a cycle that perpetuates itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if you were to look at the workout itself and what you're doing to your body, you need.
Oh, did we lose you?
Definitely would have that late night, snacking and lots of cravings, and now, like, after the bike and I have my session done, I really crave vegetables and fruit and lean meats. I have huge cravings for them, and so it's really easy for me to eat that healthy food post exercise because it's what my body wants,
Right,
so,
and you've taken care of all the glycogen that you need for your muscle. And that's what I'm saying. And then you start having really great consistent workouts that really show improvement because you've recovered really smart.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Wow. Okay, cool. So Jesse Kropelnicki, QT2 systems.
Well, the core diet.
The core diet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I've been through their website a lot, and I really enjoy what they're doing. So, okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of podcasts, or I guess they're not called podcasts. I forget what they're called, webinars or something that you can sign up for and really learn a lot of information from them.
Yeah, and I think they have a forum too, right? The Core Diet Forum and stuff?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Kona and next year, and I have a question about Chattanooga again. So, Paul couldn't make it into the call, but I'm going to let you answer the questions for him, so you can make him say what you want.
Sweet.
Okay, so Paul was there, and I looked at the results. He didn't race, so was he full support mode for you at this one?
He was full support mode, and I owe him a lot. It's a hard day out there, and for him to be out there and be there post race and pre race, and it's a bit crazy.
Yeah, I've supported my wife at a bunch of different kinds of races, and I went through a half Ironman, and the time does fly by, and it's really exciting to be support for somebody. You get really into it. So, where did you tell him to be for the race?
I didn't really tell him anything. The course itself, we had to be on a bus for the start of the race, and so I said my quick goodbyes in the morning, and he was at transition area, and so then we swam downstream to T1. So I saw him there just as I was getting on my bike. I think I did.
Do you acknowledge him, or do you just blow by?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay. Definitely. And then he was able to get onto the bike course. It was a lollipop course, so a lot of people that wanted to watch the race, there was a road in between the lollipop, the circle of the lollipop. Yeah. So he saw me about 4 times because he just needed to drive across, and then we drove in a bit. We rode in a big circle. So every time I gave him a big thumbs up. Because I felt good, so it's pretty simple. And then the next time I saw him was just before mile 1 on the run, and then I saw him maybe 2 or 3 more times. He just on the run where wherever he was located. I can't quite recall where, but he was definitely around.
And what do you have him? Do you have him yell anything to you, or what does he say to you while you go by? Just go.
No, we never really talk about what he'll say. When he watched me in Tahoe, there was a point in Tahoe, because I was quite nervous about that first race, where I didn't want to fight for my position. I just wanted to finish. Yeah. And he was yelling at me, like, get going, she's right ahead there and everything. And I just couldn't take it at that point. But this race, I felt prepared mentally. I had really good objectives in my head and what I wanted to do. And so I think he was just like any other support out there, definitely cheering me on, like kind of just reading my face. And he knows me quite well, so he knows what to say. I can't quite recall what he said, but
he said
it was
right
good. It was definitely good.
So, and when the race is over, what does he do for you? Does he go find you food and a blanket, or what?
Yeah, he's just awesome, and I'm very grateful to have him in my life. But he was at the finish line, and he was able to actually get into the finishing chute. So he was the first one I really saw.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
so that was really awesome.
Yeah, and then the day after was y'all's anniversary.
It was, we totally forgot. And
oh, you forgot?
Yeah, it was funny because 2 or 3 days prior, we were at our homestay and we were just talking about who we were and how we met. And then we were like, oh yeah, and we got married. And they're like, well, when? And we're like, oh, well, actually, in about 3 days is our first year anniversary. Like, it just came up randomly. Yeah. And so then I was just focused on the race, and I didn't even think about it until Mike Riley asked me on the PA. So someone must have told him. I'm not sure how he found out, but yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah. So. Okay, so when you're leading the race, I know on the run the female pros have a bicycle, like and sometimes with the do they do the dry erase board with who's in front and stuff while they're on the bike?
I'm sure they do at some races, but not this one that I was at. I know they do in Kona. I'm not sure if they do it at every Ironman for sure.
Oh, okay. So, when you're leading on the bike, did they have a motorcycle escort with you, or is that just for the very, very front pro guys?
No, we actually did have a motorcycle. Uh-huh. But I didn't take the lead on the bike until I think about mile 70, and then
that's true. There was some it's that New Zealand female.
Yeah, Anna Cleaver. She's actually from Chattanooga now.
Oh yeah,
And so it was kind of a home race for her.
She's a machine.
Speed demon in that water. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That was nuts. Yeah. Her time was like 35 minutes or something. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about next year real quick. I just got to say, from the outside looking in, I mean, the reason I keep bugging you for interviews is because it's obvious to me, and I've told you this, that you've got Kona level everything, right? And you've proven that on the swim or on the bike and the run easily. Like, you can perform at that level, and your swim is fantastic. I remember one time you asking me for what I could help you with swimming, and I gave you some tips, and then I looked up your swim times, and I'm like, you're faster than I am, so what am I even doing? But
it's always funny because swimming's tough. I've tried a variety of things. I've tried lots of swimming, less swimming, and so now I'm taking a little bit of a different approach, and I'm talking with my coach and figuring that out, but it's definitely a work in progress all the time. And so if there's always something that will kind of just, I feel I have the fitness, there's something needs to click. And so I'm always trying to figure that out. But, I remember us chatting a little bit about the metronome and using that. And I've been using that. It's been really helpful because what I find in the water is I tend to lose focus. On the bike, I can just zone in. On the run, I can zone in. And I think it has to do... Well, actually, I have no idea what it does, how I do it. But the swim, it's always been a difficult thing for me to kind of just zone in to it. And so the metronome just clears my mind, and I can just focus on that beat, 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 beat.
Yeah.
So I'm trying that out, and we'll see where that takes me.
I think with swimming, there's so many different tools that what you do is it's really cool that you're like reaching out and all kinds of people and for help, to figure it out, because you never know what it's like. You were saying, you never know what it's going to be that's going to make it click, make it going to click for you. And
but at the same time, you definitely need to prioritize.
Right.
My coach and I now are we're being quite strict in terms of what I'm going to be progressing to, and so rather than trying this, trying that, working with this coach, and going to masters here and that, it's too much changeover, and so we're definitely making it more simple. What I've done on the bike, what I've done on the run, and so hopefully that's of benefit.
And then what's cool about the different tools is once you've experienced the array of different swimming tools, then kind of like how each one improves you, and then you can be like, okay, I need to work on this. Well, this is the right tool to do that. Like if you want to zone in on something, the metronome's perfect, right? If you want to do more upper body power, then it's like weightlifting and like swimming against a tether, where the surgical tubing against the wall and try to swim to the other side, that kind of stuff. And that makes
you could use a monofin and just monofin your way across the pool.
Yeah. I mean, there's like all these cool tools, but if you didn't grow up with a swimming background, you don't really know about them, and what they can do, or you might forget. Yeah. So you're working on the swim, right? And I think I remember it was Melbourne or something like that. You did like a low 50 something. Yeah. So your swim's really impressive already, and I would be happy with it. Yeah. But you got to be there, like right there in the lead. And so KPR points for next year. How many points? It's like a moving target, right? You don't know how many points you need.
It is a moving target, yeah. And they made some changes for next year, which I think are great changes. They have about 5 or 6 Ironmans, I believe, that are championship races. So they're worth 4,000 points.
Okay.
And if you win one of those, then you get an automatic slot into Kona.
Oh, that's right. You got to win one.
So that's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
The other thing is they cut down on the number of Ironmans that pros can get points to, and they also made all the other Ironmans a standard 2,000 points. So my win in Chattanooga provided 2,000 points. So I'm looking at it probably doing another Ironman early season or mid-season, and then some halves, of course, and then that should help qualify me. In the past, they've allowed up to 5 Ironman results toward the KPR. So that was kind of to my downfall because I didn't want to race another Ironman prior to Kona this year.
Nah.
And so some gals, did about five Ironmans, and with all those points, I got dropped out of the KPR. So this next year, they're only allowing 3 Ironmans as part of your full KPR standing, which will make a big change in terms of the actual list.
Yeah, I saw as I kept posting updates to the KPR list, your name was just hovering on the edge.
Yeah.
And I know that's really frustrating because it's like, well, you could go race another race and get some points, right? But then you would be exhausted, and then for Kona, and you could get injured, right? Racing is dangerous, so there's all kinds of scary stuff that could happen. Then you have to spend a lot of money to go to Kona, which your sponsors would like and would give you some exposure. But then what does it do for you if you're not really ready to go because you're too tired?
Yeah.
So it's like, and so I was watching you just kind of like sitting on the fence about it and just kind of letting it. So let's say that you did get in this past year for 2014. Would you have gone?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, definitely. I would. At that point, if it was meant to be, it was meant to be. I guess I put it in someone else's hands, but if I got in, I would definitely go. It's an opportunity that doesn't come very often when you get into there, when you sort of expect it, but you're down quite low.
Yeah.
So the more experience you get, the better, and so I would have definitely been there.
Gone. Cool. Okay, so what do you got sponsor wise and stuff coming up that you want to tell us about? Anything cool?
Well, all my sponsors are awesome. You know, I'm with some great companies. I plan to stay with them, and you know, everyone's just really supportive. I get phone calls pre and post race or emails, and I just love them all. You know, I try to connect with sponsors that want to grow with me and see the changes itself, and I'm very humbled to be with them and honored, and it's awesome. Actually, one thing I'm excited this weekend is the Red Bull Air Race here in Vegas.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that, and actually Red Bull's coming this weekend, and so we're all going to head out there and kind of check that out. So Paul's stoked because he really likes, you know, fast-moving things and craziness, but it'll be an experience, that's for sure.
Y'all stay in a safe place, like a safe distance away.
Yeah, I hear that they come like right directly under you and toward you, and so it should be really fun.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Those air shows kind of scare me sometimes.
Yeah,
they're pretty intense. Cool. Yeah, and like you were saying about your sponsors, and I was saying earlier, I remember it was at Chemo was your first race that I saw you at. You came to Texas and did this race, an Olympic, and just crushed it. And it was like, man, this girl is gonna go places. This is really cool. And then what's been really cool is watching you like slowly, watching you take your time. You know, and you know you did a whole bunch of half Ironmans, and then and got, you know, thirds and seconds and stuff, and then started winning them like consistently because you grew into it so that you could win them, and then on a regular basis, and then now watching this at the full Ironman level is just nuts. It's so cool watching.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, it's been a ride. You know, I've had definitely big ups and downs. I've had injuries and setbacks and changes in my life, and but you know, that's life. And you learn from every single race, and you know, it's just been fun. It's definitely been, you know, it's my life. I love it, and so everything that happens, the positives and the negatives, you know, they all come up to where you are now, and it's been good.
Cool. All right, well, stay on the line, and we'll let you go here. All right,
take care.
Bye. All right, thank you so much, Angela. You can always find out tons more about Angela at AngelaNaeth.com. She's sponsored by Specialized and Pearl Izumi, and her husband, Paul Duncan Jr., is a triathlon coach, and you know that he's taking what she's doing and folding that into his training programs, so that's a really smart thing. Get coached by Paul. He can see what Angela's doing and apply it to you. It's genius. All right, let's move on to Kona. And let's see, there's been lots of reviews out there already, and I've made some notes since the race. And actually, I've been meaning to get this show out sooner and earlier, but I am in peak training for my own race that's coming up, Austin 70.3, which is at the end of this week. And that elevated training hours and effort has resulted in less time, more sleeping, and more eating. So I haven't had as much time as I've wanted to put out a show. But that's the cool thing about podcasting is I put it out as soon as I can find time. And now we've got some time. So let's go over Kona. I broke it up into highs and lows. So some highs, and there's lots more than this. And listen, go check out Tawny Prazak's podcast feed for you on all the interviews. And I was just blown away by what Tawny was able to pull off down there. She is, Endurance Planet is the de facto best coverage of the Ironman that I've ever seen. Any years prior, Tawny nailed it. So if you want lots more analysis, go check out her podcast. Okay, but Sebastian Kienle, Torsten Rad, I think it was Torsten, put out a stat that the most common factor between all Kona winners are that they came within the top 4 of the years previous. There was the rare outlier, like Chrissy Wellington's first ever appearance. And, of course, the first ever Ironman, Gordon Holler won. And there's a few occasions kind of here and there where it's not top 4, but generally it's top 4. And Sebastian's been top 4 for a while. And let's see. He proved that racing there a bunch helps, and so does Rennie. That race, there's a lot of dynamics going on in that race, and knowing how different scenarios play out is really, really handy, and you don't know those until you've seen them a few times. So if you have plans to do awesome at Kona, you might want to plan going and racing a few times before you actually kill it there. And that's why people like to go train there, so they get a better handle on it. Then Sebastian and Rennie proved that you really, if possible, you ought to run your own race. What happens is the bike takes off, and then you get this crazy accordion effect on the bike where all these pros think that they have to draft off of each other and draft within legal, they're not cheating. I'm just saying they're drafting in this little draft window off of each other. But then what happens is you get a wave, and this is like particle physics. You get wave action where it's an accordion effect. Is every time the person in the lead encounters a rise or a headwind, they slow down, but the people behind them, it takes a moment for them to need to slow down too, and so they start piling into each other, kind of figuratively. They kind of pile into each other like a wave, like a crest on a wave starts piling up, right? Well, then the people in the back have to apply a lot of braking to not get busted for getting too close to the person in front of them. All right, the person in front doesn't really have to worry about this all that much, and then that person in front, when it starts going downhill, takes off, and then the person that was legal drafting distance behind is now way behind because the person has been going downhill longer, and to catch into that draft window again, the person that's way behind has to pedal really hard to keep up. So what happens is you have people that are, but this belief that they've got to stay in this drafting window, to stay really close, to stay as close as possible to this distance. It's like 7 or 10 meters or something like that. To stay at that limit, they end up slowing down and accelerating and slowing down and accelerating to stay in this spot. And then what this does is constant surges and accelerations actually wear you out faster. And then you get where these people are more tired on the run, because now they've started the run. Now they're more tired than their competition who wasn't dealing with all this. So, in long course triathlon, what you want to do is you want to minimize this variability, this surging, because it does wear you out. It's like climbing little hills when everybody else is riding flat, right? Okay, so this is wearing me out talking about it. So Rennie came from way behind, right, and just passed people. She wasn't worried about the trying to stay in a draft window. She just rode. And people will talk about how much nicer it is to be like that. And Sebastian Kienle, as soon as he came from behind too, he was actually back in the swim, and then he slowly passed everybody, and then eventually got out in front, and then didn't have to worry about anybody. So watching these race dynamics for years and years and years, this surging accordion effect is the thing that you want to stay away from so much if you're doing if you're at the front end of any kind of race. You either want to get off of that and back off of it and let them do that while you sit back just a little bit and watch it go off on the horizon, kind of like Rennie does, which is a benefit of going a little bit slower on the swim, because you don't leave the water and they get mixed in with this big pack, this accordion pack that's going on. Or if you're so awesome like Sebastian, is work through that group and then get out on the front, and then you don't have to deal with it at all. And in interviews, they'll say it's like the difference between swimming in clean water versus swimming not in a draft, but just in a mix of people that are hitting you and kicking you and stuff. It just exhausts you after a while. And that's why you'll see the front pack in Ironman. A lot of times it explodes, or everybody just wears themselves out and they come apart, and then they have they don't even make it all the way through the bike ride in top shape, but they definitely come apart in the run. Okay, so you can see that totally happened in this race. And then also ZenTri podcast interviewee from last year before the race, Jody Swallow, who DNF'd last race, got her act straight and got 4th, which is huge for her. So that was really cool to see. Okay, so some lows is I was really hoping Luke McKenzie would win, and he had a very frustrating race, and that's very typical of winners from the year before. They have so many sponsorship commitments and stuff. Well, he got 2nd the year before, but he got a lot of publicity from that. They end up not being able to focus on their training as much. Okay, we got something really interesting here. John Newsom got sick and walked the run. Okay, so John Newsom is the former pro that is the co-host of I Am Talk that I'm sure a bunch of y'all listen to. And I was listening to his race report, and he said, yeah, he got sick on the run, and they were talking about it, and then they go, well, he'll have to analyze it and try to figure out what's going on. And I was listening to what he was saying just before that, and to me it was totally obvious. So check this out. There's 2 things. One's very obvious, is that he mentions towards the end of the bike ride that he went through an aid station or 2 with no water. And that will make you sick to your stomach, because you need to drink water with your fuel or else you'll get sick to your stomach. And I've done this a million times, so I'm not saying I'm smarter than that. I'm saying this is what happens. Knowing what I know now, I might pull over and stop at the aid station and go, I'm going to stand here until you get me some water, and wait for a minute or 2 for them to gather up find water for you, because it's actually that critical in a hot race. You need water or else you can't eat. So if you go through an aid station and there's no water, you might consider not eating anything, because if you do eat something without the water to put it down, then you might get really, really sick. At most, you could drink like Perform or Gatorade or something like that, because it's got the water built in with the calories. But still, man, that's rough. So that's your first indicator right there. Second one is that he was doing, and I don't know like how much of it he really did, how much he followed through with it, but this thing where you're trying to do the fat optimization by eating less during workouts and such, turns out a classic problem that pops up when you do that is not being able to consume the calories later on in an Ironman without getting sick. And that's what happened to him. So I'm not saying those dots are necessarily connected, but there's a dashed line between those 2 dots. So those of you that are fans of I Am Talk, over the next, go listen to his Kona review, and then over some of the next episodes that are coming out, and see if those seem the same to you. It seemed kind of obvious to me. Okay. Another bummer was I wanted to see Jan Frodeno really kick ass in this race. I was expecting him maybe to win, and he made some kind of uniform screw up with his shirt. He had to turn back and go back around or something. And again, this is another. I'm going to turn on my car here for a second, get some AC going. This is another example of why racing at Kona a bunch of times makes you smarter at racing Kona. And you got race day nerves. You should get to the island early and get all this kind of stuff sorted out and do lots of visualization and scenarios and stuff like that, so you're not so you don't do things. Those are accidents that practice kind of whittles down to as few as possible. So that kind of sucked. Jody Swallow got some kind of penalty out at the front of the bike, and had to sit back. So that kind of sucks. And it's still unclear on what exactly happened. And it's kind of like penalty gate. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Magnus Backstead, who's a former pro cyclist, didn't do so hot during the race, and sounds like his either had an injury or he was sick, so he was disappointed, and I was disappointed for him because I'm kind of a fan. And then also I've noticed a pattern, and I don't think people are doing it on purpose, and I think we ought to recognize this and start counteracting it as much as we can. And so what happens is, after a race, you see this with pros, but with lots of people too, after the race, all of a sudden all the excuses come out on Twitter, right? So Starkey mentioned that he's been on crutches and all stuff, and the problem is it even though it's not, it comes across as that you're making excuses for a performance, right? So I've been thinking about this. I'm like, well, what's the cure for this? Because it's obviously not the way. What's going on is you got all kinds of things wrong with you going into the race. All kinds of things could come up, and if you sat there and listed them off, people will be like, oh my God, shut up, But I think that we ought to start making a pre-race list of things that could go wrong, the lingering injuries that you're worried about, problems that you have, and then that way when you tweet about it after the race, then it doesn't sound like you're making up an excuse. So I'll go ahead and get started. My left Achilles tendon really is bothering me, and mostly while trail running, but Austin has a 70-point, Austin half has a nice little hill on the run. I'm a little bit worried about that. And also the run out of the swim could kind of tweak my Achilles tendon. And I'm trying to think what else. What else is going on? I tend to mess up my nutrition in any race that's a half Ironman or longer. So there's always that possibility. And I've never biked on this bike course before. I've been out on the run some, but I could easily wreck on this bike course. Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing out there, and a lot of it's out on Texas country roads where there could be cattle guards and blind corners and broken glass and potholes, and also the rain. It could rain, and in Texas we get really strong thunderstorms, so who knows? I could be blinded, and it could be really hot or it could be really cold, and I'm tall and big, and I don't shed heat easily, and also I'm very heat adapted, so I'm fragile in the cold. That's my long list of things, of ways I could screw up my race. So after the race, I can just use any of those as a touchstone for that's why I screwed up. Okay. Whew. All right, and so what's next after Kona? There's so much more, like I said, with Kona that happened I'm not even mentioning. Somebody was injured or something like that, a female, and dropped out, and it was too late for the next female in line to pick up her spot for Kona, so that kind of sucks. And then one more was Angela. Hey, wait, hold up a minute. This is Brett from the future. I finished recording this whole podcast, and as I sat down to master it, I guess is what we like to call it, and put it together, I got two things in my email, in my message box, that popped up that I wanted to include in the show, and this is actually the best spot to wedge it in. So let's go ahead and cover them real quick. One is we got audio from the real Starkey, who's famous in triathlon circles, of the Beer Mile. It's behind the scenes audio of the Beer Mile that a bunch of pros and celebrities were involved with. Triathlon celebrities. We're like C-list celebrities. Triathlon celebrities got involved with at the at Kona, and that's why I put it in right here. And they it's it's got Jesse Thomas in it. It's a beer mile, and AJ Balco, by the way, two very top-notch pro triathletes that just happened for whatever reason to not make Kona, and then a whole bunch of other guys. Now that I think about it, no women involved. I guess girls are too smart for this, and maybe we'll see one next year. And a beer mile is where you drink a beer and then run 200 yards or 200 meters, probably 200 yards, around the track. Is it 200 yards? It's not 200 yards. But anyways, you run a loop around the track, and, 4 loops make a mile. So it's, and then you drink a beer every loop, and whoever finishes the fastest wins. There is a guy in a gorilla suit, which is a Slow Twitch reference. And Dave Mira was there helping MC it. There's a video of this online, but actually this audio file has more than the video of what's going on. So it's cool. You get to hear some of the behind the scenes of this beer mile. It was done at sunset, I guess the evening before Kona. And AJ pukes at the end. It's a whole lot of hilarity and some really good fun. It's very old school, old fashioned fun triathlon style. So, and then the other piece of information that I got ties in with this as the Kona Beer Mile sponsor, I guess is what we'll describe them as. Sponsoring this part of the show is not related at all, but I decided to say this segment is sponsored by, let me pull it up right here, the Comrades Triathlon, or Comrades Marathon, sorry, it's not a triathlon in any means. It is huge. Comrades Marathon in South Africa, and there's a travel company called Kerr and Downey, K-E-R and Downey, and it's D-O-W-N-E-Y, and they're a travel agency, and they do tours in South Africa. They do them apparently all over the world. I was looking at their website, kerdowney.com, KERDOWNEY.com, and one of their VPs contacted me and said, hey, we'd like to sponsor your show and to advertise some travel stuff that they're doing for the Comrades Marathon. The Comrades Marathon is 56 miles, and every year they run at the opposite direction of the year before, and it is legend. The thing is probably the biggest running event in the world, and I found out lots about it by listening to podcasts about it. Outside the United States, it is probably the biggest race that you've ever heard of, so it's amazing. And let's see. Let's go ahead and listen to the Beer Mile. And while you're listening to the Beer Mile, hop over to a browser, go check out kerdowney.com, and also go check out the Comrades Marathon, C-O-M-R-A-D-E-S, Comrades Marathon. And when you come back from listening to the Beer Mile, I'll read you some of the contents of the email that I got that'll give you a better picture of what's going on with Comrades. All right, here we go. Here's the unofficial Real Starkey Kona Beer Mile, which I think AJ definitely won it. Oh, I'll tell you what happened after it was over. Okay, let's go ahead and go.
If you have a beer can, pass there, okay? So just discard the beers on the grass so we can put them in the trash can right away. There's a Barnana flag where the left turn is going to be, okay? So look for that. There's going to be a branch, so you're going to have to duck under that branch to make the about a 10-foot run on the little lava rocks so you get back on the path. And then take a left and then continue the circuit. Penalty lap. If you puke or pass out, well, if you pass out, you pass out. I will leave you here. Don't worry, we have a Sharpie that we can write your phone number just in case you forget that. Nick Van, you can tell that story later. But if you do puke, you have a 5th lap. Okay.
Fifth lap. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do we have to take the beers ourselves, or somebody?
No, we will not hand these out. This is not professional triathlon.
Do we have to start with the beer?
Yes.
I will be providing dry needling, though.
For the start, everyone can start with the beer in hand.
A really messy finish.
Yep. Start with an open one.
Do we have to drink at the finish?
I mean,
Before each lap.
Where's the
start line?
Who's got the clock going here? Where's the race?
He's got clock.
Who's got the time?
Who's the timekeeper?
Oh!
Yeah. Full arrow. Full arrow. Jesse Thomas, you decided to go full arrow today.
Let's do this.
Make that decision.
I just happened to have this in my bag, and
I'm surprised you chose the aviators tonight. There's literally no sun.
it's gonna be bad news going through the little tree.
All right. Whoa!
We gotta show them open.
Well, I was stopped.
No, wait.
And they are off lap one. They are off on lap one. AJ Balco is taking off in first place. Matt Hansen pulling away, taking a strong lead. About a 5-yard lead for Matt Hansen. That's not Matt Hansen, that's Embry. Followed by Balco. Followed by Jimmy Sear. Then comes the pack. Matt Hansen, second to last. Terrible announcing. Two black cats just ran out in front of the pack. I am not making that up, ladies and gentlemen. They're rounding turn 3. Coming into turn 4. Dave Emery in the lead. Jimmy Sear right on his hip. Followed by AJ Balco in third. Jesse Thomas in fourth. Matt Hansen coming up from behind. Some guy named Mac in dead last with a Go Luke hat. And they are chugging. Chugging. Jimmy Sear sipping. Who is chugging the fastest? My money's on AJ Balco. He's been training for this every day. He is fully tapered, and he's been boozing like no other. So that first lap, ladies and gentlemen, belonged to Dave Emery from Portland, Oregon of Athlete Pass. But it looked like AJ Balco chugging his beer the fastest, taking off first on the second lap. AJ Balco, I knew it. I knew he could chug faster than everyone. And AJ Balco is being trailed really closely by Nick Van Dam, who's in second place, U.S. West Point Academy grad, so a military boy in second, with Jimmy Sear in Nick Van Dam running in a high-cut Speedo. Looks awful. Jimmy Sear coming up in third. They're about a legal distance if drafting were illegal. About 15 yards apart. The aviator, Jesse Thomas, looks like he's making a move in the backstretch. He's being trailed by Mac Brown from Bonkbreaker, and it looks like the Barnana and Chattanooga champion Matt Hansen's in about 8th place, but bringing it up on the run. Hansen cannot drink for shit, but he is absolutely a fast runner. Jesse Thomas running faster than everyone, without question. Running faster than everyone, without question. Callum Millward, talk to us about your thoughts so far.
I'm just glad I haven't entered.
Why this decision? Would you like to insult any indigenous peoples while you're here?
I'm going to take a rain check on that.
Love your work, brother. I love your work. Okay, AJ is coming in to start his second round of chugging, his third round of chugging. Jimmy Sear about 5 yards back. Nick Van Dam. Jesse Thomas in fourth. It is time to chug again. Jesse taking up a couple of spots there, picking up a few spots. James Sear struggling to chug. Nick sipping his beer terribly. AJ suffering, a lot of pain, but he is definitely chugging faster than anyone else. No one chugs beer like AJ Balco. I've talked to him many times this week. I know how hard he's worked. The suffering, the training, the dedication, the tattoos. AJ Balco taking off. Oh, James Sear in third. Nick right on his wheel. These three men have definitely separated themselves. Big differentiation. They have a quarter lap lead at this point. Everyone else suffering. Jesse Thomas
finishing his beer, starting with a slow jog. He's an amazing talent. What a pedigree for running from Stanford. What a beautiful man. I met him today for the first time. He is definitely more attractive in person. Tom Gerlach, what do you like at this point? AJ, looking great.
I gotta like AJ. This is going to be the highlight of his career right here. First pro win ever, possibly, for AJ.
To me, he's a legend. But Jimmy Sear is coming up strong, representing Australia, a drinking culture, a culture that loves beer. Oh, I just heard Jesse Thomas grunt as he came by. Thomas, give me your thoughts at this point.
Oh, man, this is an exciting race. I don't know who's going to win this race. He's going to come down. They're coming down, and, Jimmy Sear is making a move here on A.J. Bacco.
Jimmy Sear going for the pass. His blonde, almost white locks just blowing in the wind. Yes, unbelievable. James Sear. Lars Finnegar, what do you think here? Who do you like?
We've got a tough race. Well, the most consistent guy here is Jimmy Sear from Australia. He's got the hair factor. Look at that, but A.J. Bacco's pulling up. Nick Van Dam is the fastest runner out of the three, but he had a horrible beer drinking.
Horrible chugging. Now,
Jesse Thomas is not out of this yet. The aviator, Jesse Thomas, is pulling himself back in the race.
Lars, he's about 15 seconds behind us at this point. With his running pedigree, is it possible that AJ could continue and go for the pass?
I'm worried that this is the 9th beer of AJ's day, so I've got to think that, Jesse's on his fifth beer here. He polished one before the race. I'm going to go Jesse Thomas in a sprint finish.
AJ has finished his beer. Turned it empty atop his head. He has taken off. He is sprinting. He is running away from this. He has a quarter lap lead. Here comes Nick. He's a quarter lap behind.
Nobody's going to challenge AJ in this.
AJ wants this bad. I have been with AJ this week. I know how hard he worked. No one has drank more than AJ Bacco this week. AJ, you are a legend, baby. Legend. I should be more unbiased, but I am rooting for AJ Bacco. Nick Van Dam.
Let's go.
Going for a podium spot. Can he catch AJ? Jesse Thomas in third.
Now,
Jimmy Sear in fourth. Jimmy must have had a horrible chug.
I will say that A.J. Bacco did have Rice before coming in this beer mile. Rice could be the...
Unbelievable! Matt Hansen has just made the pass, and Jimmy Sear, what a runner! Unbelievable!
Look at Matt Hansen is going to bridge back about 8 seconds and catch Jesse.
I think he can catch Jesse Thomas. He is moving faster than Jesse. Matt Hansen, champion of Ironman Chattanooga, is sprinting, trying to catch Jesse Thomas and make the podium. I believe he's going to make the pass. A.J. Bacco, first place. A.J. Bacco, first place. Nick Van Dam, second place. Jesse Thomas, can he hold off Matt Hansen for third to finish on the podium? And he does. Unbelievable. Matt Hansen in fourth. What a finish. James Sear started so strong, but faded with that last chug. A valiant effort nonetheless. Lars, what are your thoughts?
Well, the biggest surprise is the fact that Dave Emery, who was the fastest after the first lap, is bringing up the rear here. So that's a bit of a shame.
He must be terribly disappointed.
I think this absolutely confirmed what your pre-race predictions was with A.J. Bacco. But second was a total unknown, the West Point Academy grad, Nick Van Dam, who served multiple tours. It goes to show what the troops are really doing out there in Afghanistan.
Absolutely. I met Nick Van Dam at the Endurance Conspiracy tent when I first got to town. He was working alongside Tony DeBoom, and tremendous guy. I couldn't have been happier for him. Here comes some final finishers. Dark Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing we haven't publicized, Dark Mark is actually running this event in his wetsuit, in our wetsuit division. He will finish first in the wetsuit division. Embry, well done. Everybody, just like at Ironman, we will cheer on the last finisher. Everybody comes back for the last finisher, which is Dark Mark in the wetsuit division. Everybody, remember, first place is best, last place is second best.
Yeah. Here he comes.
He can do it. Dark Mark. Everyone celebrate Dark Mark coming in last here in the wetsuit division. Dark Mark. What a champion. He's wearing a full wetsuit. It is 90 degrees out. Dark Mark, I'm in a real luck. Dark Mark, how are you feeling at this moment?
Oh, pretty good.
Unbelievable.
puking right now. Ladies and gentlemen, AJ Balco is vomiting. AJ is vomiting. AJ, talk to me about the race. How did you feel out there?
Oh, fuck. Oh, good. Yeah.
AJ, what was your nutrition plan during the race?
Rice. I had a fuck ton of rice before we started, but I just threw it all up.
I couldn't be happy for you, AJ. No one worked harder. No one drank more than you this week.
That's very true. I've been drinking a lot this week.
You are a legend. I think that this surpasses even what Ray Patel did at Lake Placid. You are the new legend of triathlon. AJ Balco, everyone.
All right. Take a photo of me and AJ. AJ.
Are you able to win it? The feeling that you have right there when you start your first 20 meters of the lap is just the worst feeling ever.
There is no greater motivation to qualify for Kona next year, so I have an excuse not to do this race.
Matt Hansen, unbelievable. Jimmy Sear, you were right in it until the very end. What happened?
Oh, mate, that last bit killed me. It was, I was too much foam in my gut, and I was struggling to get more in. So it was painful last lap, but it was good fun.
You were just crushing the first 3 laps. It was excellent, so exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I'll catch you over here.
Yeah.
All right, so AJ won it, and if the last time I checked AJ's Twitter profile, that's the very first thing that he lists off. He's the Kona Beer Mile champion. Over all the other races that he's won or podiumed at, that's what he's most proud of. It's really funny. And AJ's actually, if you follow him on Twitter, he's driving across the country and his car's falling apart and he's having to duct tape the bumper to his Scion. And he's bitching and moaning about his car. It's pretty funny. And it's not funny for him, though. But still, it's pretty interesting. So let me read you the email from kurddowney.com. And big thanks to @TheRealStarkey for sending me the audio. And yeah, go check out the video. It's cool. All right. From Reed Barber. It says, Brett, longtime listener here. You do just an awesome job on the show, been good company for many long runs. So I'd like to talk about getting an ad on the show. And it says, I've been in the travel business for about a decade now, and I've got an amazing itinerary themed around the Comrades Ultra in South Africa. Literally the best accommodations on earth. Meals and visits with some of the greatest South African athletes, and man, they do have some. Amazing people, and once-in-a-lifetime excursions. Helicopters, shark cages, wine tastings, wildlife, everything you can think of. Private meetings with Ryan Sandys, Bruce Fordyce, Tim Noakes, and Louis Liedenberg. And I went to their website, again, kurddowney.com, KERDOWNEY, and I was like, holy crap. This is so beautiful. If you cruise around the website and then find tours and then South Africa, it's just, the pictures are just amazing. And shark cages, you got my attention at shark cages. And they have stuff on there, it's different part of Africa, but about gorillas and things like that. But anyway, I don't think there's gorillas in South Africa. And he says, the experiences are amazing. It is an incredible and exciting itinerary to talk about. The price matches the itinerary, and if you just were listening to what I listed off, I mean, you can imagine. But it's amazing, and it is possible we could customize an itinerary for folks looking to do something within a tighter budget. So that's cool too. Registration for Comrades is over November 30th, so I'm trying to get the word out before then. What can we do? Well, I sent him an email back and said, I'm going to read this off anyway, no matter what we work out, because the world is a small place, and the more you travel, the more knowledgeable you become, and the better life you have, in my opinion, because it balances you out and it smooths out your opinion. The more exposure you have to different cultures and different worlds, the better and more well-adjusted you are to what's going on when you move back to your own neck of the woods. And it's kind of like, I've seen some stuff. I've seen people and things that would blow your mind, and it makes living in this world just so much a more cool and fun experience to think of the amazing things that are out there. And so I definitely wanted to mention it. Travel when you can and do what you can to get out there and see the world. It's definitely really cool. And again, I don't even know if you even want to do the Comrades Marathon. 56 miles is a long ways, but you can definitely go to spectate. It's massive. It is incredible. So maybe you could go do a Kerr and Downey trip, and just go spectate the Comrades Marathon, or go with a family member or a friend or something. It's really cool. All right, so again, KerrDowney.com. Go check them out. And thank you, Reed, for sending me an email. And thank you again at The Real Starkey for pointing out the audio to me of the Kona Beer Mile. And I'm glad we were able to tie something together here and get it in the podcast. All right, I got to get this show out. I got to go. Let's go back to the Kona news where we were finishing it up. All right, here we go. And then, let's see, the next big race is Challenge Bahrain. And I don't have any internet up in front of me right now, so I'm not sure of the date. It's like 50-something days away, 40-something days away. And it's a half Ironman length race. And first place is $100,000 for both female and or male, which is really cool. The possibility to win $100,000. So I'm seeing people get really excited about this race for a half Ironman. So that's what everybody's training for next. Okay, let's mention a sponsor or two before we get into the emails. Compete Hub. I was just on it this morning looking at the Austin race, and you want to check them out. CompeteHub.com. It's kind of like the Facebook of triathlon. It's really, really neat. You find all kinds of people that are doing races. You can see race courses. There's lots of stats on previous races, and you can arrange meetups, all kinds of cool stuff. There's a lot of races have hill profiles, previous race weather, and it just goes on and on and on. And oh man, it makes active.com look like the labyrinth, with a minotaur buried down in it trying to kill you. It's like Compete Hub is so nice. You just kind of cruise around. It's very zen. It's just like, there I go over here, and then I find this race. Oh, look at this race over here. This is so pleasant. Oh, I can sign up. Nice. Okay, so check out CompeteHub.com, and let's see. You got another one, Hornet Juice. Hornet Juice, man, I had some of it yesterday afternoon when I was doing a swim, and it's kind of like it's almost like a recovery drink built right into your fuel, and it's only 60 calories, and it's amino acids, so it's essentially protein that you pop in there, and one packet lasts an hour and a half, and it helps your body metabolize body fat. It sends a signal to your body, hey, we need to tap into your fat cells and help power this guy or this girl doing this killer workout. And it works. It is so cool. And the craziest thing is it comes from Japanese killer hornet saliva that scientists sat down in a lab and figured out that this stuff is what metabolizes the body fat in these crazy bugs in Japan that allows them to be the most powerful, longest flying endurance critters that, we say that in Texas, that anybody's found so far. And how do they do it? They metabolize body fat with amino acids, with these specific amino acids. So they synthesize it and turn it into powder, put it in a packet, and it comes to you. And Hornet Juice is rad, man. It is so cool. There's a hornet on the outside of it, and it comes from New Zealand. And when you order it, you actually get an email from me where I say, hey, thanks for ordering Hornet Juice, because it helps out the podcast. It helps out ZenTri. You get something awesome. I get something awesome. I get like a buck or two, or it kind of depends on how much you order. off the top of an order. And because I help fill the order, then I get to send you an email. So you get an email from me. You get to tell me what's going on with you, which we'll get into here in the emails and donations. And tell me about what's going on in your life. And it makes for good show content too. So all around, it's awesome. So go check it out. Hornet Juice is on the right side of ZenTriathlon.com. Scroll down and click on the logo, and it'll take you to an order page. You get like 4 packets or 10 packets. And again, 1 packet lasts an hour and a half, so it's actually not a bad buy. And it's, there's 20 packets, 30 packets. I mean, it's crazy like how much of the stuff you can order. And it really, really helps out. So you try it in training, and my return orders, when people come back and order more, is just off the charts. It's really cool. Okay. Let's see. Let's go on to the emails and donations. Okay, Scott Robinson sent an email, and he wanted to say, he did a donation to the show, a flat-out donation, which is on PayPal on the left side, which is another cool way to help out the show. And I'll talk about that in a second. Hi, Brett. I wanted to put in my part to help the show and let you know that you really helped me through my training this year. I work with a coach, but I've also been using your tips about training by feel to help me through. Man, you guys are getting a ton of that in the training log this episode. This is going to blow your mind how good this stuff is. Okay, I have also started using Hornet Juice, there you go, and Humagels, which you recommended. Good stuff. And both worked great for me. I ended up laying down a PR and a half iron in July in 5 hours and 9 minutes. That's fast, man. And racing my first Ironman in Wisconsin and finishing 11:48. Hey, that's good. The Hornet Juice really helped! ! Oh, by the way, if you send me an email and it's got an exclamation point in it, I always say exclamation point. Also, hearing you include Kai in your workouts is great. I ran with my 3-year-old daughter, Layla, at the Iron Kids race the day before Wisconsin. She loved it! ! Hearing Mike Riley call her an Iron Kid gave me chills. Anyway, thanks for all the help along the way and keep it up! ! From Scott R. Thanks, Scott. That was a really nice email to read. Okay, we got a donation from Vince Hancock. From Per Tornholt. I should dub in Tawny saying your name. That was the funniest on her show when she did that. Jill Bendor. Schuler. Let's see. Schuler has an email. Life is good in Tempe. Gearing up for my first competitive race since graduating from college in 2010 this weekend. A 24K trail race. Ooh, seemed like a good way to stay motivated on the push to my first ever marathon in January. Yeah, we'll see. So we'll see how it progresses. I'm sure my old cross-country / track ego will emerge when the gun goes off. Yes, it will. Hey, that helps you in training, though. And for the end of the race, at least. If for no other reason than survival. Otherwise, I'll accept the 80 and 90 degree days still. Better than what I've been dealing with in the Northeast the past 8 years. But probably not as sweet as Texas. Texas is a bit brutal, man. Oh, man. It's something else here. After having been out of regular fitness for the last 4 years, that's not that long. You'll be all right. Getting back into training led to exploring podcasts, hence how I stumbled upon to Antero Values. Thanks for putting out such quality and bringing your passion to every episode. Hey, no problem. I look forward to your continued insights and eventually hopping into triathlon again to quote-unquote legitimize my fandom. Hey, you're worthy of being a fan of the show. No worries. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to catching up soon. Best, Schuler. All right, John Taylor sent in a donation. Elizabeth Davis. Now, Tyler Moyer. Oh, I clicked on something and ended up ruining it. Where's Tyler? Where you go? How'd I mess that up? Okay. I found one way to stay motivated and improve my bike split. This is Tyler talking. I'll be completing the Knights of Sufferlandria challenge on December 20th. Ooh, Sufferfest. They're an on-off sponsor of this podcast. Go check them out. And it's training videos. I'm raising money for the American Lung Association in memory of my grandfather. if you could share the link with your listeners, I would really appreciate it. Okay, everybody check this out. It's gofundme.com, like fund, as in get money, gofundme.com / this is good, shut up legs COPD. And COPD is in all caps, but I don't think that really matters. GoFundMe.com / shutuplegs COPD. Go visit Tyler Moyer and help him raise some funds for American Lung Association. That's cool. All right. We got more donations from Brett Hoyer, Ken Soderquist, John Burns, Jamie Gurtov, no, I'm not saying that right, Joseph Rogalski, and Melissa J. Boudreau. And actually, I can't get to them right now, but I've gotten a couple other emails recently that have some really good stories in them, and we'll have those on the next show. And yeah, you can help support the show by donating on the left side, ZenTriathlon.com. I think I mentioned it again at the end of the training log. But anyway, if you find that anything in this show really changed your training and gave you some good advice and some good tips that you're able to use or share with a friend, and you're finding value in this podcast, consider going over to the left side of ZenTriathlon.com and with your finger and your mouse tapping on the screen there on the icon that's donate by PayPal, and setting up either a one-time or recurring donation, and send me a note too, and I'll read it on the show. And that is what makes this show happen, is the Hornet Juice and the PayPal donations, and that helps pay for everything. And I think at the end of the show, I talk about it more. Emily lets me keep podcasting because people donate, and that helps pay for the triathlon habit. Like today, I took my bike in to get it last work on it before the race. Chain is stretched out badly, and let's see, what else? There's a grinding sound in the headset, and the rear brake cable is non-functional. The housing must have gunk in it or something like that. So estimate is $90 to get all this fixed, and that's on top of spending nearly $100 on new tires just a couple of weeks ago, and tubes and like all kinds of stuff, maybe $150. So this triathlon stuff ain't cheap. So if you can't help, do it, and it's really cool, and I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Okay, now we're going to get into the training log. Well, maybe we should mention another sponsor before we get... Amrita bars. So I snack on Amrita bars all the time, and it is awesome, healthy, clean nutrition. They also make the coolest kit in the biz, and you can check them out more at amritahealthfoods.com. And if you end up buying Amrita bars, you can use discount code ZEN, all capital letters ZEN, and get 15% off, which is a ton of money off, and order these things in bulk, and then you have them in your pantry, and then your kid goes, I want a milkshake. And you're like, eat an Amrita bar. It's good for you. And they go, I don't want to. And then you go, no, you eat it. And you unwrap it for them, and then you put it in their mouth, and then they go, oh, it's not that bad. But watch out. They'll eat the chocolate ones like crazy. All right, so that's Amrita bars. Okay, I think we got it all covered now. And yeah, okay, let's talk a little bit about the training log. Okay, like I said earlier, I've, over the past, 3, 4, 5 months, have been focusing on improving my bike, and it's worked. It's worked really, really well, and I tried something a little bit different, and I really paid attention the whole time I was doing it so I could talk about it on the show. I've been kind of holding back on describing it entirely because I wanted to make sure, and holy crap, not only am I sure, but I'm beyond sure that this is an amazing, amazing thing. And let me describe for an example. I say in the training log that I used to go out for rides and used to be happy with 220 watts for a long ride. And that's a lot, but I'm a big guy, so it's not bad, right? But I'm like, man, the guys that are really, really fast are putting out a lot more than that. Let's work on this. And I used specific in the training log, I detail training methods, recovery methods, scheduling methods, all kinds of stuff to bring up the power on the bike, and then going out and field testing it to see the results. And in the training log, I mentioned that my average is up from 220 to up like to 240, which is nearly a 10% increase, more like 8 or 9% increase, but that's a lot. And then and sometimes 245, but that was as of the last recording of the training log. I can tell you that I went for a bike ride yesterday. No, not yesterday. 2 days ago. And my average watts was 260 now for a long bike ride. And that has a lot to do with Angela's nutrition tips that she gave earlier in the show as well. And that is a huge, huge jump and makes all the difference between, I was pedaling up hills, and then I'm like, where'd that hill go? Right? You know that you've made a significant improvement that's going to make a difference when you're surprised by things that you didn't even think would be surprising, you know? Because a lot of things you're looking for, like, oh, when I'm faster, I'll notice this. Well, when other things start happening that you weren't even looking for, that's a real indicator that things have changed because you weren't even looking for these things. So I've got a couple of hills that are some pretty hard work on this one bike route that I ride. And I remember going, oh, here comes that hill. And then a little while later going, hey, where'd that hill go that I was supposed to be going up? And it was like, holy crap, I just demolished it and barely noticed it. And that's a real sign of a big change. And then also finishing rides, and instead of being exhausted, bouncing off the walls with energy, and then immediately going outside and throwing the football with Kai, or going to one of his soccer games, just doing all kinds of fun stuff. So really, really cool stuff. So I want you to pay attention to the training log. I also want to just put in a disclaimer in here. I'm not saying this is the fix for everybody. I'm not saying I'm a genius and I got it all figured out, because that is hilarious to think that you've got it all figured out. Things change, and what different people need to improve is different for a lot of different people. I wouldn't say for every person. There's like categories of things that you need. And I do come from a background of lots and lots of Ironman training. So aerobically, I'm really, really fit. And for some people, you may want to just get an easy volume first and kind of build up your stuff. And then think about doing a lot of what I'm about to talk about in the training log has to do with intervals and stuff like that. I also want to preface it by saying, if I sound in this like I'm, full of myself and cocky and I'm awesome and stuff like that. No, I'm just really excited because I've been working on trying to find a way to improve that feels good and allows me to eat healthy and lots of food, and also mix in strength and volume and scheduling with time, and hormonally feels great, and all kinds of cool stuff. And what I'm doing as of in the training log really seems to work really, really well. So no, I do not think I'm awesome. What I think is that I'm really, really happy as of right now. I could bike around a corner and pull a hamstring, or I could trip in a pothole and smash my face and lose all my teeth tomorrow and be a miserable mess. But I'll take it for now that this is really working out really well. And yeah, in a race, I may totally screw it up and not execute correctly. But racing is just a reflection of fitness. Really, it's your workouts and such, and getting healthy that is your big concern. Oh, and by the way, I had a blood panel done for work, and I posted it online, a picture of it, and they did blood and blood pressure and things like that, and let's see, so in blood, they do blood sugar and fat analysis, and all of my numbers were absolutely stellar. And that's more important than any half Ironman or Ironman, is the fact that I'm super, super healthy as of right now. And that's a reflection of that what I've been doing over the past few months is nice. It's good for the body. And yeah, so, okay, no more explanations. Let's sit down and enjoy this training log as I try to explain it. Oh, and by the way, this is an evolving picture. So I am happy to explain more with people over time as I make better sense of what I'm doing, and also to help you. And like, if you want to do this kind of thing, let me know. And I'm a coach, and I can help you too. All right. Let's get started with the training log. Here we go.
You are entering the ZenTri training log zone. Huneli.
Hi everybody, my name's Brett, I'm a triathlete. Hi Brett.
I decided it's time I got some friends more suited to my status.
But Joe, we've been friends for years.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Come on dudes, let's go exercise! Exercise! Yeah! I'm gonna do sit-ups till I poop myself!
All right, I'm at the training farm. Oh, training log, start date. I don't know the date. It's whatever day Kona is. Walking through the gate at the training farm. The big cattle farm that Emily's family owns. What's up, Shadow? Shadow was barking at me because he didn't know who I was. What's up, Kai? Y'all throwing the football? Yeah. What about the cow patties? You worried about getting poop?
I just didn't catch it and dropped it into one.
Well, kick it until it all comes off, and then rinse it off. That is now a soccer ball. Maybe that's how soccer got started. Oh my God, dude, you almost hit the power lines. All right. Oh, Emily's coming. So I came up to the training farm. Shadow, it's up my butt. What? Oh. So the Aggies are playing Ole Miss? Is that who we're playing?
Yes, sir.
And it's now 6 o'clock at night. And I went running all along the countryside. I got chased by dogs. It's cool. Emily's talking. Emily, I just discovered that soccer was invented when people were playing football in the field, and then it got cow poop on it. It's got cow poop on it. So then they started kicking it.
Shadow, what are you doing? I can't figure out any results for Kona.
Oh,
I've been trying to look.
Let me get off this thing and I'll tell you. Hold on.
It's over, right? The winners are done.
No.
Oh.
All right, welcome back to the training log. We are away from the training farm and back in College Station, Texas. And I had a request that I want to fulfill, that how I got so much more faster and powerful on the bike. And then what I'm going to do is contrast it to this weekend that just happened, the Kona weekend, while I was training in Pert, Texas, out in the middle of nowhere, and show you the difference of what to do and what not to do. This is part of the podcast where I tell you all kinds of cool stuff that really works, and then hopefully everybody can benefit. So, all right. I started off by looking at that I was training a ton, and I only had so much time to train. So I'm training the most it seems like I can really train and be a dad and work a job is about 15, 16 hours a week, right? And if I'm crazy, I can get up to 20, 22, but everything else has to kind of fall apart, which is normal, right? You have those epic weeks where you can do that kind of stuff. But anyway, I got really, really fit. My resting heart rate is in the 40s, and I can't get my heart rate up too high working out. So basically my endurance, my aerobic endurance is fine. I got tons of that. And it seems like I can go forever, but not at a very fast pace. And we're about to get into a school zone, so I'm going to turn this off. Hold on. All right, I'm back, I think. There we go. And the so this is me, you, doesn't matter. You've maxed out on time to train. You could always find a little bit more time, and I got 15, 16 hours is a lot, so it's nothing to sneeze at. It's definitely good for half Ironman. Once you start getting Ironman, you start needing to get up to like 15, 18, 20 to be pretty fast and have a good day. And you hear all this minimalist training stuff where they do, lots of hard and not much else. And it's very confusing because it's a lot of heavily marketed stuff, and it's buy my book kind of thing, and it's not you, and it's a little counterintuitive to everything that's going on in the sport or how people have historically trained for it, because our typical role models are pros and they've got 30 hours a week to train, so of course they're going to get really good, and then also there's there's a few other people that have had some really good success that are age groupers, and they started showing training lower hours per week and performing really well. The thing is they were already fast, right? So when somebody does a sub 10 hour Ironman and then starts training differently and still does a sub 10 hour Ironman, there's something going on there, and I'll explain what that is. And then I started noticing that there's a phenomenon. There's a phenomenon of, there's a cyclist, go. Oh, we just had a cold front come through, so it's chilly here for Texas. It's like 60. And of people that are former fast at a single sport, this is really important. People that are fast from a single sport have no trouble whatsoever converting that with just a few months of figuring out the pacing. They are great at that on another sport, in triathlon, that part of triathlon. So let me give you an example. Magnus Backstedt, right? So he's like a former pro cyclist from the 90s, probably tons of doping back then. But anyway, this guy has won a couple or more stages of the Tour de France. He's what else has he done? He's won Paris-Roubaix, which is a freaking hellish race. He's like really, really, really good. Well, he just got into triathlon, and of course, he's like winning the bike segments and all this other stuff, and it's because if you look at his power on the bike, it's a huge number naturally, well, not naturally, but from all the training, all the single sport training, right? And you look at Andy Potts, who is a former swimmer, right? And you look at any former swimmer, and they destroy the swim without much effort, right? And you start asking yourself why. And you look at any former runner, and their easy pace in a longer run, it just decimates a non-runner's easy pace, right? So the question is, and you just go for example after example after example of how if you got your power and or speed, same thing, up to high performance levels for shorter distances, all you got to do is then work on getting that your pacing lengthened out and your nutrition lengthened out, so that over 112 miles, let's say for an Ironman, or let's half Ironman, half marathon, 2.4 mile swim, 1.2 mile swim, that these distances don't really bother you, and you're still able to go really fast. And again, it's really, really obvious when you start to look at it that the fast people can generate big numbers, big numbers over short distances. So you can reverse engineer that. Oh, you look at the pros when they go do like a 10K, or they do a bike race, or they do a swim race. They destroy it, right, over short distances. And so let's go back to Magnus Backstedt. He, what did he do? Wait, let me go back to him in just a second, because I lost my train of thought on that. Sorry, traffic. And let me give you my own example, where I was a high school swimmer and I was a sprint freestyler, and I only need to swim 3 times a week for like 45 minutes to an hour each time, and I can do an hour Ironman swim, no problem, right? And it's like, how am I doing that with such little training nowadays? I quit doing that over 20 years ago, right? Yet I'm still able, and with a huge break in between. And I guarantee you, my brother, who hasn't done it 20, 25 years, with a few months training, could do the exact same thing, right? And then you could do this with cyclists, and you can do this with runners. And so the thing is how do you reverse engineer this so that you get stronger and faster on a device when you're an age group triathlete and you're training all by yourself, or maybe you got a coach, but you want to, you've now come to the conclusion that more volume along with everything else actually isn't going to make you any faster, right? You've plateaued and you're just like, ugh. Okay. So the thing is if you come from a certain perspective, it all starts to make sense. And the thing is with my swimming background, because I was a dude and I went to military school and I was in high school and hanging out with guys all the time, I got into weightlifting, right? And turns out that was one of the reasons I was a good sprint freestyler, is because I did weightlifting and got strong. But that's kind of a parallel tangent. Okay, so once you've gotten the big picture and you've said, okay, to be a better cyclist, I need to focus on cycling. I need to focus on the bike, on the triathlon bike. And that's what I decided, right? To have a better bike and a better run, I should focus on the bike. Okay. Then you start taking all this minimalist training and stuff and fueling and nutrition and start piecing it together to look at how to do this. Okay. I'm saying okay a lot. Now, the thing is, if I told you that I wanted you, I'd give you $1 million to be better at bench press, right? Then you would look around for the best way to get better at bench press and to generate bigger numbers. And how would you do that? Well, the classic way that Jack LaLanne and these other weightlifters proved is resistance training. And there's several pieces to this. You would go to the gym and you would do several sets of the weightlifting. So let's say bench press. And you would monitor the numbers, and the reason you do several sets is you could do one big set, but it's a little dangerous and you risk injury. So if you break it up into more sets, and a set is a series of repetitions. So we're going to really break this down. You put the bar on the rack and you put weights on the bar, and you guesstimate, this is the first few times, you guesstimate about how much weight you can lift about 8 to 12 times, maybe up to 15, just kind of depends. And you eyeball it, and then you get on the bench rack, and then you bench press, and let's say it's 200 pounds. And you're like, okay, 200 pounds, can do that 8 to 10 times. Let's say you do it 10 times, and you're like, all right, that's nice, right? Then what do? You get up, well, you sit for a second, and you rest, and you try to catch your breath, right? Which is important. I want y'all to remember that. And then you walk around the gym for a little bit. You're not doing bench press. You walk around, you go get a drink of water, and this is about 3 or 4 minutes, right? And then you shake your arms out, you shake your chest out, if you could, and then you go and sit back down on the bench press after you catch everything and you get rested all over again. You might have a sip of Gatorade or something like that, and you do it again, right? Now, how long did you do the first one, right? Well, if you timed it, about 8 to 12 reps would take about a minute. Maybe less, maybe more. And then you definitely go in feeling amped. They're playing cool music, and it's an environment that's like, wow, this is cool. We're going to have some fun. We're going to do this. And your buddies are there and all that stuff. This all plays into it, I swear. And then when you do your second set, you try to do 8 to 12 reps again, right? And why did you stop on the first set at 8 to 12 reps? Well, because it burned so much that you couldn't do anymore. And it took about a minute. And so you're going to do it again after your 3, 4, 5 minutes rest. And you're going to eyeball it and go, I could do a little bit more weight or a little bit less. So let's say you're like, you know what? That one took me 12 reps, which is a little bit more than a minute. So I'm going to back off. I'm going to add a little bit more weight. So you're going to do 210 pounds instead of just 200. And then you sit down and you crank out another set, and you manage to get out 10 of them at 210 pounds. You're like, all right, that's nice. And we'll be back in just a second because I got to go into work. W to the ERK, out, bang. All right, I'm back. I'm on my way to go eat. And, okay, so let's pick it up. You would do somewhere between 8 and 12 reps. Now, that would take about a minute, right? And you would fatigue towards the end of those 8 to 12 reps. And you would pick a weight that would, on purpose, fatigue you by the end of about a minute of these repetitions. And you would call that a set. And then you would take a nice break, completely relax for, 3 to 5, 6 minutes until you do it again, right? And if you're just getting into weightlifting, you might do it twice, because then you're going to be really sore the next few days. If you've been doing it for a while, you would do, you could do 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets of this type of activity, and you'd be able to do lots of them. But you could also tell when you're done with a set. And because you just fatigue so much, you can barely lift the weight anymore. Your body naturally gives out. And then you can also tell when you're done doing sets in general, that workout, because you can't produce good results anymore. You get on the bench press and you're just tired now. You're sore and it hurts to do another set. So, and then what you do is you keep in the back of your mind if you do too much, it's going to take a long time, many days to recover from what you're doing. And it turns out that you get your greatest improvements by doing enough work where it takes a couple of days to recover from, and then doing it again. And you do that consistently, and you improve. Okay, so knowing that this is how weightlifting works, this is how improvement works, this is how power works, this is how strength works, knowing this is exactly how I could, if somebody was going to pay me $1 million to be able to, they say you can bench press 200 pounds right now, I'll give you $1 million if you can bench press 300 pounds in a couple months, right? That's exactly how I would do it. That's how anybody would do it that knows what they're doing. They would just go to the gym every other day. So there's a rest day in between to recover from this. And they would do sets of repetitions with a break in between until they can't do anymore, and then take a 48 hours rest, and then do it again. Okay, so there's many things to remember that's going on here to help you out. One is that if you do anything else in between with that muscle group, it needs to be very little. You can do volume, but it can't be very much intensity. In fact, a little bit of volume kind of helps. It kind of helps the muscle recover a little bit because it kind of stimulates blood flow, which helps move things around and keep you from getting too stiff and too locked up. And another thing is, before, during, and after you are doing this heavy, intense work to improve your muscle strength, you need to eat food that is going to rebuild the muscle. It's going to fuel the muscle during your workout and rebuild the muscle after, faster. And I've tried this with different things, and what seems to really work well for recovery, and I mentioned it on previous shows, is ice cream. Because it's, this whole chocolate milk thing, well, they're not kidding. It does work. It works really well. And I like ice cream. And you get it in a flavor that you like, and then you can eat that. And we'll cover more about that in a minute. But feeding the muscle stimulates growth, especially during and for recovery, immediately afterwards. And then when it gets down to nutrition, there's all this metabolic efficiency stuff and all that, which is complicated. But what I've found is that if you feed your muscles enough carbs during training and post-training, then you will not crave carbs hardly at all when you're not training. And then now you're getting into, and so when you're not training, you can actually, and Angela and Naeth talked about this, you can actually go seek out really healthy foods and make healthy choices because you're not having crazy carb cravings. If you're having crazy carb cravings, CCCs, then there's a really good chance you're not fueling enough with the right stuff during your training. So how about that? That's pretty interesting. So a lot of you that are trying to eat healthy and train and find it difficult, you're not doing it right. You're not piling on enough carbs during and after training. And it's frustrating because in the middle of the day you start having crazy carb cravings, And you wouldn't have these if you did enough carbs during the workouts. And then now, because you're not doing it right, you're having to go and eat carbs, simple carbs in the middle of the day or when you're not near working out, instead of eating, making better choices and eating things like veggies and stuff that, and protein and stuff that's fiber, and just lots of veggies really, that you can't eat while working out anyway. So this is now the time to eat it because you're not working out. So this is when you get it in. And it's really cool to be able to leverage your timing of your foods this way. So, for example, before your workout, you eat something sweet, and then during your workout, 300 calories in an hour, 300 to 400 calories in an hour or something, simple carby. And then afterwards, a small bowl of ice cream, and then a couple hours later, you're ready for a meal, and you can actually have like a chicken breast, which you'll start craving it, a chicken breast and a kale salad and beans and relish and like stuff that I'm trying to think other carrots, and things that are really nutritionally dense, but not workout food whatsoever. And because now you're getting in all this nutrition and you're not causing an insulin response that's causing your body to store fat. So now you're getting leaner because you're eating your carbs at the right time. Instead of trying to go low carb and not eating enough carbs in general at all, you're just eating them at the right time in a way that makes you stronger. And then next we're going to talk about the intensity of the intervals and how that causes an effect that'll help you out a lot too. Okay, hold on. I got to go eat. All right, I'm back. Okay. Freebird burrito with lots of veggies and steak. And because my bike workout doing intervals this morning, I ate lots of carbs before, during, and after. I am not craving carbs now, so I didn't have any rice. The only carby thing on it all was the tortilla to hold it together, and everything else was super veggies. And I've noticed that, and guacamole, that if that burrito had rice on it, like they usually put on it, that I get sleepy afterwards. I have an insulin reaction, and I get sleepy afterwards. And without the rice, I don't get sleepy, and I don't need the rice now because I ate enough carbs after my workout, during my workout. So it's all about timing. Okay, now the other thing that's really, it's not the other thing, there's a ton of things that really matter here. That doing weightlifting has been shown, proven over and over again, to release large amounts of testosterone. Now, what does testosterone do? It builds more muscle, and it's a mood elevator, and it makes you feel great and aggressive and risk-taking, and it really ups your mood. And the way to get it is to do high-intensity, hard work for short, brief periods of time. And apparently the way to deplete it and not get it, not generate it, the opposite, is to do very easy, long, slow stuff. Okay? Now, basically, on the bike, and you could do this on the run or you could do it swimming, doing hard intervals for about a minute, and then until you almost to failure, and then resting and recovering, and then doing it again, resting and recovering for quite a few minutes. It is very analogous, which means just like, to doing weightlifting in the gym. And when you do this, you build muscle, just like you were building muscle in the gym, just like your $1 million to increase your bench press. And this releases a large amount of testosterone, which builds more muscle in the exact same spot. It builds more muscle in general because it's a hormone that floods throughout your body. And then the other thing now, high intensity work also burns more calories than low intensity work, and it burns them throughout the day for like up to 48 hours afterwards, because your muscles are trying to build, and where is it going to get the particles to make new muscle out of? Well, it has to absorb them from somewhere, and that takes energy, right? Okay, so your metabolism is now fired up and burning extra calories many hours later for 2 days while you're just sitting around doing nothing. Okay. And the other thing is you've increased your mood from the testosterone. And anybody knows this, that if don't go lift weights for a long time and then go lift weights and then watch how you feel for the few hours after you leave the gym. You feel like super strong and you can do anything, and that nothing can stop you because you just lifted all this weight. That's chemistry going on. That's hormones in your brain telling you to feel a certain way. And it was created by doing high intensity, short bursts of work of lifting weights. So what you're trying to do is replicate that either on the bike or on the run or in the pool. Okay. So what I did was I started figuring out, you get on, and we're going to talk about the bike. You get on the bike and you warm up for 10, 20 minutes until you feel like you're ready to do an interval. And then you do an interval, and if you can, you have some kind of measurement device. You can do miles per hour, but on a bike with a power meter is nice because it does watts, and watts is kind of like weight. So you do an interval at 200 watts, and then, well, you can kind of eyeball it. And you're like, well, it looks like when I'm going really hard, I'm doing about 200 watts, right? Well, that's like pounds. And it takes about a minute. And you go hard enough so that you can only go about a minute, and then you bottom out. You're just like, ugh, got to take a break. And then the thing is you've got to undo all this training that's been going on in your mind about endurance sports that doesn't work anymore. And that would be like after you do a hard interval, to keep pedaling at a pretty good effort. No, you don't want to do that. You got to do exactly what you would do in the gym. You would stop, right? You coast just barely for a little bit, catch your breath, and then gently pedal just a little bit, so that and then over the next few minutes slowly increase your pedaling to get back up to feeling like doing another interval again. That's really critical right there. Complete stop. So if you were running, you would come to a walk, catch your breath, and then what you're doing all this period of time is you're letting the muscles get their oxygen back, their fuel back, everything, so that you can do another interval in a little bit. Okay, so the other thing yet another thing that's really important is you'll find, like I was saying earlier, you can't do other sports stuff at any kind of moderate to high intensity in that 48 hours, or else it will compromise your recovery between interval sets and between interval days. So like I said, let's say you do intervals on a Monday, then you plan on your schedule. You're going to do them again on a Wednesday, and let's say it's the bike. You're doing bike intervals Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the days in between, you really don't need to bike at all. And then if you do run, you run really, really easy and just jog, right? And just don't worry about it, because the problem is if you ran with any kind of intensity at all, you're going to inhibit the recovery of your leg muscles to put out more, to recover and do the workout again. Now, you can do swimming, right? Because that's upper body and that's arms. And you can do the exact, you can do swimming and running like this. You can do swimming and biking like this. But what you cannot do is biking and running like this at the same time. You can't build both over the same, like, say you want to take a few months and do this. You have to pick one. You can always do swimming, but you have to pick one, either biking or running, not both. Okay? And then, what happens next? What you'll notice is with a few times of doing this with some practice, and if you do everything that I said, you'll notice that you can actually, if you're doing a bike with miles per hour or watts in a very controlled environment, which is important. When you do your 3, 4, 5, 6 intervals of hard for about a minute with really easy rest in between, and then you cut the workout short and don't go any further, you'll notice that when you come back 2 days later, your number's a little bit better. And that is everything right there. The whole point of doing this is you want to make your numbers a little bit better next time. Just a little bit. You want to show improvement next time. And then what you want to not do is anything that's going to compromise your performance increase in those numbers. And you'll start to see that means long bike rides with lots of hills. You could do like an easy bike ride, kind of long, but and long runs. And so you're talking shorter runs, easier runs. If you do a long run, it's got nice walking mixed in, and it's at a really, really lazy pace. And also you want to get plenty of sleep, and you want to get plenty of rebuilding fueling before, during, and after these interval workouts. And you got to keep it in your mind that these are like weight training sessions, and that that everything else is designed to lead to rest and recovery to complement the work that you're doing on your legs, your interval stuff. And then once you start doing it right, which it can take a little bit of practice to do it right, you'll notice that your numbers get better. And it'll be 200 watts on your intervals. And then it's 210, and then it's 220, and then 230, and then 240, and 250. And it's exactly like going to the gym and seeing improvement on the weights on the gym. And then once you start seeing it happen, you become a believer. You're like, holy crap, because there really isn't any end to it. As long as you keep doing this, you'll keep getting stronger and bigger. And my example was during an interval when I first started out, I was doing 300 watts on an interval, and then saw quick growth and at first, and then but then slow growth after that, but still going. I went 300, 320, 360, 400, 420, 450, 470, 480, and this is up from 300, right? Now I'm up to 480, and then 500, and the other day I was doing intervals, and I was peaking out at 551 watts on a minute-long interval, like, and I'm able to tell because I'm doing the power meter with the number readout, and then also a graph afterwards on the Sunto Ambit 3. And I'm like, oh my God, this is totally working. But it's 2 days rest, 1 day rest, sometimes 2 days rest. It can kind of depend. And you get a feel for it. And then lots of recovery in between, and letting everything in your life revolve around rest and recovery so that you can do these interval sessions again. Okay, so when I come back, I got to go do something. We're going to talk about the value of doing it on the machine. Why would you do this on the bike and on the run, like running up a hill, instead of just the weight room itself? And then also, there was something else. I'll remember it when I come back. All right, hold on. All right, I'm back. Okay. Gosh, between my breaks, I keep thinking of all this stuff to tell y'all. This is really critical stuff here. Let me, to keep y'all hooked to listening so that you see the end goal here, let me go ahead and tell you what the end result is, and then I'll tell you more about the cadence and the why to work out this way instead of another way. Okay. So I'm increasing my watts so that when I'm doing intervals to higher numbers, right? Just like lifting weights. Instead of 200 pounds, get up to 220. It's like I'm benching 220, 240, 260, up to 400 and something pounds, right? 450 pounds. Okay, now the whole point is I go out on the road after doing this for a while, for a few weeks. I go out onto the road and I'm riding along on my bike, and I have this sensation of like, okay, when I'm just pedaling along, because you got your whole environment around you, and your perception's all off because of you're now out in the real world, like pedaling along, and it's like, but over the years of training, I know that I'm done warming up whenever I feel a certain way. I feel good, and my heart rate's up to a reasonable number, and then and my watts are up to a reasonable number, right? So I'm just pedaling along, and I'm like, doobie-doobie-doo. Oh, you know what? I've been out here for a little bit. It's been like 10, 15 minutes. My heart rate feels good. I feel energized. I feel like I'm ready to go. And I look down at my bike computer, and it says, 125, 130 beats per minute. And I'm like, okay, that's nice for me. That's good. And then ready to go. And I look at the clock, and it's been 15 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, that's about right. That's a nice little warm up, And then I look at the watts of what feels just, pedaling along easy, but warmed up and ready to go. Because until then, you're, who knows. Anyway, I'm used to looking down, and it's saying 190, maybe 200 watts is happy, legs are happy, ready to go. No, it says 240. I'm like, what? Holy crap. And what's happening there is, that's a 40 watt jump. And what's happening there is the stronger you get, your easy is a percentage of your ability, right? Walk with me for a minute. I gotta walk. I got a chore to do outside of the car. So the stronger you get, everything's a percentage. So in an Ironman race, you should bike at 70%. Let's just say, depends on the person. But let's say in an Ironman race, you should bike at 70% of your max, right? It's all based on percentages. So if you raise your max, you raise your easy watts with it, just right in line with it. So if your max has now gone up from 300 and something to 500 and something, well, then your easy watts, your easy ability, and it goes up from 200 watts to 240, right? And that is a huge difference because your body weight stayed the same, your perceived effort has stayed the same, and a really good explanation of why this is so great would be running. So let's say instead of doing bike intervals that you were doing slight incline hill intervals, right, and making your legs stronger, and you were getting better and better at the top speed you could sustain. So you get up to where you're doing, when you first start doing out sprint intervals for a minute, you're able to do, let's say, 7.5 minute mile, right? For about a minute, you average you peak out at about a 7.5 minute mile running along. And then over time, with training, and by training the way I was saying, doing intervals with lots of rest in between, over a few weeks to months, you get your top interval speed, which is your potential, your threshold, up to 6 minute miles or 5.5 minute mile pace is what I'm saying. Well, then now your easy is going to be much, much faster, right? Your easy will now be, it used to be your easy was a 10 minute mile because your fastest was an 8 minute mile, right? So then if you bring your fastest down to a 6 minute mile, now your easy is going to be, let's say an 8.5 or 8:30, right? 8:30 minute mile. Let's say 8:30, it's nice. Okay. Well, now think about this. Imagine the difference in what you can do in longer races if your easy run pace is an 8.5 minute mile pace instead of a 10 minute mile pace, right? You go farther, faster before you get tired because the perceived effort is still the same, right? To run a marathon, you got to kind of run like kind of medium, you know? But now your medium is like an 8 minute mile, right? Your easy is an 8:30, your medium is an 8. It's pretty cool, huh? Okay. So, now that you get what happens in the end, you go out for a long bike ride, and now your easy is, let's do miles per hour instead of watts. Now your easy is 20 miles an hour instead of 17, right? Wow. Big freaking difference, right? So, and that's what you need for races. You need to be able to go faster at an easy effort. And again, that's what you're doing is you're increasing your top end. You're focusing on increasing your top end so that your easy is faster. Because it's the same percentage, but it's the same percentage of a faster number. Okay, so why would you do this? You're saying, Brett, that, it's intervals and work, like weightlifting. Why? What's the benefit? Why aren't you doing this in the gym itself? Why aren't you just doing weightlifting for these muscles? And you can, but why you don't, why it's not necessary so much, I'll explain to you in just a moment. Hold on. I got to rack a bike. Okay, sorry, I'm having to steal my son's bike from the bike rack at school, so he has it for cyclocross practice later on. The life of a dad, of a biker kid. Whoa. And anyway, trying to get around traffic. Okay, so, back again. So if weightlifting works so well, why to increase strength and power, and then power is so important, then why aren't you doing this just in the gym, right? Okay, for 2 reasons. In the gym, you, why aren't you doing this on weight machines? It works kind of in the gym. And that means that you can single out those muscle groups and make them stronger. You can single out kind of like single muscles and a little bit of muscle groups and make them stronger for sure. But there's a problem in that you're not in the exact same body position as you are in the as when you're on the bike or on the run or in the pool. And not being in the exact same position doesn't mean it means you don't fire those muscles exactly like you would in the real world when you're riding and racing. And so then it's only like 80% effective or something like that. And you can tell the difference, like go ride a road bike and then and you can get great on a road bike, but then when you get on a triathlon bike, you're using kind of like a different part of your quads and a different part of your hamstrings. And you're using the muscles a little bit differently. So all that work you did in the gym, all that time in the gym, doesn't translate directly into power and injury prevention and such on the device or on foot that you're actually going to be doing in the race. Okay. And then the other thing is that when you're doing the intervals on the run or on the bike or in the pool, you get to practice something that you can't practice in the gym, and that's cadence. So the missing piece that most people are missing, and something that improved dramatically when I'm walking into my house, when I started doing intervals like weightlifting on the bike, on a trainer, and on the come on, I need to find Kai's helmet. Hello household, where's your helmet? You will die without a helmet. You won't ride without a helmet. I won't let you. Not cyclocross practice. Wandering. If you were to do like bench press with enough weight to improve your chest strength, there's a helmet. There's the beautiful boy's helmet. There it is. Okay. Then you wouldn't be able to do it at a very high cadence, like you're doing squat rack or something like that. You can't do it at a very high cadence. Nothing approaching what you can actually do on the device. Okay. And then you'll find out that while you're doing it on the device being the bike, that not only can you match the cadence, and now you're practicing the neuromuscular firing that's in the right order. It's the coordination of doing it, which is a lot of swimming, actually. And it's a lot of everything. It's a lot of biking and a lot of running, too. It's being smooth. You actually get to practice overspeed, right? And driving your heart rate up really high, which is good stuff. Well, what happens is if you go overspeed, then when you slow down to normal cadence, your new normal is now higher. So, for example, when I first started doing this, I was like 90-something RPM on the bike while doing a hard interval. Was pretty fast, I was like, whoa. And then out on the road, mid-80s, low 80s, felt like a normal cadence, right? And the faster your cadence is, the better off you are, because the faster your natural cadence is, because it feels normal, it feels easy to you. But if the higher it is, even though, let's say yours is you and Bill, and yours is naturally higher than Bill's, then you actually don't have to apply as much force, because watts or power or anything. Horsepower is cadence times force. If you have a higher cadence, you don't have to apply as much force. So think about this. If your cadence is naturally higher, it feels to you the exact same as doing it as somebody else that's got a lower cadence. And your force is the same, right? But your cadence is higher, you're putting out more horsepower because it's the same force. And hold on, I'm trying to look over my shoulder. Same force, but higher cadence, right? But it feels easy. Or you could do, you could do less force and higher cadence. Now it's even easier, and you're going the same speed as your competition, right? As Bill. So anyway, what I noticed was the more I started doing interval work, I started noticing, whoa, my cadence is high, like really high. This morning I was doing intervals, and my RPM while doing intervals, without focusing on this, my cadence was 100, and I think I hit 111 or something like that, right? And I've noticed that my typical hard working cadence is now in the upper 90s. If I'm applying, kind of like applying myself a little bit, it's in the upper 90s, when it, and then my easy cadence is low 90s. It's like 92, 93. That's easy, right? So, and when it used to be, there's a guy picking. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so the end result is I'm going out on occasion, going out on a long outdoor bike ride, and I'm covering, in the same amount of time that I used to do, I'm covering way more miles. I'm doing it faster, and I'm doing it at the same perceived effort, but also at the same time, even though it's the same perceived effort, it doesn't feel as hard, It's like the hills don't seem as steep, and and that's another thing is a limiter when you're out riding or running in the real world is terrain. Those little hills, and big hills too, especially, but little hills and going into the headwind and stuff, that's the stuff that you're having to raise your effort to fight against. And now because your max is so much higher, these things don't bother you. And it becomes more and more obvious that this is why people who come from a background of a single sport who are really, really fast at it and really strong at it have such an advantage, because their easy is faster than your easy, and their easy is faster because their top end is faster, and because everything's a percentage, it's all relative, and their top end is faster because they've done work that increases strength and speed, okay? And all it takes is just a tiny bit of translation effort and pacing lessening to pacing lessons to learn, how much effort should I put out when I try to go 3 hours instead of, half an hour or 1 hour or something like that, right? Okay. And then you start thinking about what is the work for people that are single sport, right? So when I was on track in middle school and a little bit in high school, what is it? Well, you sit on a track and you warm up a little bit, and then you run some 200s and you run some 100s and you run them hard, and then what do you do in between? Nothing. You walk around and talk with your friends and you chill out, and that's okay, and the coaches know that. On swim team, what do you do to get awesome? The pool is basically a track. You warm up, and then you do hard sprints and then you wait by the wall to catch your breath while you're waiting for the coach to come up with more stuff, right? And the coach is fine with it because you're resting to recover so that you can do more hard stuff. And that is how fast people get fast. And you can look at cycling. If you were to become a track cyclist, or even a road cyclist, it's bursty. Everything's bursty, you know? You rest, and then bam, you know, do something hard, and then rest, bam, do something hard. And those are like sets, like lifting weights, and then a lot of rest and recovery in between. And then over time, you get faster and stronger. And then your easy becomes faster. Okay, now there's many things that I'm going to contrast with what happened this weekend to show you how this actually works and what's going on. Probably the most important thing outside of the workouts themselves, along with rest and recovery, is to keep everything consistent. And then that way, if you keep everything consistent, then you can judge on whether or not you're improving or not. And see, this is difficult. If you have a really random, chaotic environment, you don't know what is leading you to improve and what's leading you to stagnate or get worse, right? And this is where, like, if you did your workouts on the trainer, it's a consistent environment. And you're like, well, I'm keeping this the same, so it must be what I'm eating, or it must be my lack of sleep, you know, that's bringing me down. Or I'm doing my workouts too close together, or I'm doing too many intervals and stuff like that. But the terrain is always the same, and it's a very consistent, smooth terrain that you get to dictate. And then, you know, like the timing, it's always the same time. You know, it's 48 hours apart. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, you know, and then you can always judge, like, what's improving, what's causing improvement, and what's not. This is really, really critical. So when we went to the training farm this weekend, and I'm out riding around, you talk about a chaotic environment that I'm out riding on terrain that I'm not familiar with, so I don't really know when the next hill is coming up, and also the pavement was chaotic, so I'm having to dodge around things and not hit things, and it was raining, and I had a flat, so I had to have people come get me, and it just went on, and then the food was chaotic. You know, I'm living out of somebody else's house, somebody else's kitchen, and I'm trying to find food to eat, so my fueling and everything else is inconsistent. And we don't think about this kind of stuff, but this is what leads to mediocre results, where you plateau, is because your body, you can't focus your energy, you can't focus the stress you do need into your legs at a time when you need it, because you've got stress coming from all over the place, all different angles and in all different ways. You know, I ride my own roads. When I go on an outdoor ride, I know where the rough pavement is, right? I know when the hill's going to end. I know where there's a section of road where it's dangerous to ride fast, and I know there's a section of road where it's dangerous to ride slow. And because it's a consistent environment, I can use that environment to dose myself with what I need to be strong and to improve me. And I'm not fending off arrows coming from all different crazy angles, you know. And then if I'm and then my fridge is my fridge with my own food, and I don't have to spend time, you know, looking for stuff. And I'm not trying to assemble my bike, put it together, and I'm not waiting on other people to fix their flat tires and stuff like that. It's a very smooth, consistent environment. And this interview that Tawny did with Andy Potts, she just did, is so telling. You know, he does most of his training on the trainer and the very rare occasional outside ride. And then that way he's able to focus his time on improving himself on the bike. The guy comes from a swimming background, right? So he's not a great biker, or he wasn't, but again, he comes from swimming, so his swim is great, and he's able to, with a controlled environment, he's able to dose himself with the stress and watch the numbers to make himself know that he's improving on the bike, and not wasting time out doing and hoping, as Sunto says, replacing luck. Hoping with luck that he's improving. With a controlled environment, he's able to see for sure that he's improving, and then also because that environment is consistent, when you add or remove things, he can go, I think I'll try 100 more calories per hour, right? Let's try that, for example. I got a leaf blower. You want to do 100 more calories per hour, right? Well, if you're riding the exact same conditions, the exact same amount of time as before, then you'll know if that 100 calories per hour is actually beneficial or if it's too much, right? But let's say that you're going to ride a different route with some other friends, and a new guy shows up, and it's different weather and all kinds of things, and you've eaten something different the day before, and you've done all this stuff. Anything could have led to better or worse results instead of the 100 calories per hour. Your sleep is off, like all kinds of stuff. And so I can't say enough how important it is for the thing that you're trying to improve to keep the environment consistent. That's why a trainer is great for the bike. You could do the same running route, or you could do a treadmill for the run, and then the pool is actually really easy to keep consistent and with a clock, right? That's why it's so easy to get faster in swimming, because it's a consistent environment. You can do what works, and then you know immediately. You have immediate feedback because it's basically a track. Okay, I'll have more in a minute. Out. All right, I'm back. Okay, so let's do a quick review. I've told you how you can increase your overall power and or speed, and it works in all three sports. I've told you about scheduling it so that it works. I've told you about lessening stress everywhere else so that you apply the stress in the right place, which is increasing load very gradually. You want to very gradually increase this. And I've told you about doing it in a repeatable, consistent place method. So like a trainer or on a treadmill or on the same running route or on the same bike route. Now, if you do it on the same bike route, you need the same hills to do your intervals on. And again, the difficulty is in the discipline of doing the interval hard like you're lifting weights and then stopping when you're done and going super easy. And many people will fail at this and then say that it doesn't work. It's a lot of self-discipline to do that. Which is fine. It's easy to do. It's the discipline to do nothing, to do less. Okay, so we say, oh, that's too much work. No, it's actually less work. It's just the discipline to do less work. And then one thing that I can easily see people saying is, well, then if you look at the interval work, it's a very short amount of time, right? And then it's like, well, then how are you going to get in the volume? There's this whole volume problem, to do a triathlon. You need so many hours or so many miles of training. That's not actually a problem. You're not looking at it correctly. What you do is you follow the method of polarized training, and this is exactly what polarized training is doing. Is you do the hard stuff like you're supposed to. And then everything else is super, super easy. And what people do is they do the easy too hard. The easy needs to be ridiculously easy. Like super, super easy. Just out jogging, just out for a casual bike ride. Unbelievably low amounts of effort. And when you're doing that, you can get in a ton of volume, all the volume that you ever want. And that's when you practice like fueling, and nutrition's the same thing, and pacing, and like super, super easy. And it ends up not being a problem because all of a sudden your easy gets to be fast, right? And so it's like, oh, well, it's kind of enjoyable because I'm not even trying that hard and I'm going as fast as I used to go when I used to try hard. So, it's not that big of a deal. And so you got to go super, super mellow, super easy when not doing the interval stuff all the time. You're going to go out for a 3-hour ride, do it easy. There's no point in doing it hard because you're not doing the interval work during your ride. And you're going out for a long run, do it easy and avoid any hard work, and just practice your nutrition and your pacing and seeing the sights and just having some fun, and then so when you go super, 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 super easy, you can easily still do the volume. You'll find that you probably don't need to do quite as much volume maybe because your interval work is doing the improvement for you already, and it's more like the volume is more of a therapeutic, calming, reassuring blanket of just just like, for example, I'm gonna run tonight not because I really need to that much, just gonna run because I like running, and it's just getting in the volume. And the thing is I need to actually run easy, because if I run hard at all or even medium, it's going to compromise my next bike interval workout where I'm going to try to get in some sustained interval work. I'm trying to find a parking spot. Okay, so I think and then it's if you're not going medium, if you're not doing volume like you used to do, and you're just doing super, super easy, how are you gonna stay lean and or lose weight or whatever? Now let me tell you something. If you do the intervals right, it is crazy how much your metabolism will be burning calories, so that you there's not a parking spot out here, so that you don't have to really worry about eating light, right? I've noticed that, like I said, the carb cravings are gone because of the fueling, the better fueling, and then I can actually eat. Because I'm fine with eating more healthy stuff in the middle, away from workouts, because I've already taken care of the carby cravings by eating more carbs during the workouts. I'm able to eat a lot more because what I am eating is actually super healthy stuff, and my weight has been perfect, and I have no difficulty. This is a really cool thing. I'm no longer fighting the urge to eat something, which is what makes diets fail and which makes diets miserable. Is the I want to eat that piece of cake, but I can't, right? So you're losing willpower right there. It's tough, and then you eventually cave in and then fail, and it's really, really weird. Like, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I'm just, the healthy food choices that I need to eat are easier to choose, and then I'm able to eat more and of that stuff, and then I'm fuller, right? So it doesn't really bother me. I'm going to go watch my son's football game right now, and I'm going to sit there and drink a green smoothie while I'm watching it, and I'm going to be fine. And then when I go for my run later tonight, before the run, I'm going to make sure I have enough carbs, and then the run during the carbs, or during the run the carbs, and after the run the carbs, and then tomorrow morning I'll wake up and I'll feel fine again. And my weight is the extra heavy duty intensity work that you do is it builds muscle, and while you're sitting around doing nothing, that muscle burns extra calories and you end up being leaner. So hope that paints a picture of all the pieces and how it works. And everybody's environment's a little bit different, so getting it done in a way that works for you can be difficult at first, but I promise you, if you start trying to keep things consistent and you look at doing the hard interval stuff like lifting weights, and if you need a reminder, go lift weights and remember how it feels and how you do it and what's effective, and then revisit that so you got that back in your mind. And then you probably need to do everything else easier, and then you'll start to see when you start going easy enough with everything else, and this is the polarized, you're either going hard or easy, and it's mostly easy all the time. When you start going easy enough, which is ridiculously easy with the easy stuff, then the hard stuff, you'll start to see better numbers each time. It's pretty cool. All right, I got to go. How it be? All right, I'm at the Bryan Aquatic Center pool. Cold swim. Let's go ahead and wind down on the whole how to be awesome at triathlon stuff, because, it's the stuff I'm telling you how to do this is good stuff, but things change. Everybody's a little bit different, so I don't like getting off on all like this is how to be awesome, because things don't work for everybody, so I'm just finding something that's really working for me, and if it works for me, and it's all starting to make a whole lot more sense, because I just wanted to share it. So let's move on to other things. So I'm listening to, I'm putting my wet stuff from my swim into the roof box above my gas guzzling Xterra here, and I'm about to have an Amrita bar, a recovery bar. You're going to get to enjoy listening to me eat while I podcast. And let's see, I did an hour swim, and I drank some juice on the way to the pool. It's about a 20-minute drive, so that's perfect, drinking some juice. So I hit the water and warmed up really quickly because of the sugar in the juice. And then, hold on, I'm going to start opening this Amrita bar. And then I started doing intervals. I decided to do swim for an hour, and every 10 minutes do a 1-minute hard interval. Oh, it's good. And it's cold. They did maintenance on the pool, and so they refilled it, and the water's cold. The water's 71 degrees, 72. And the air temperature is probably 55 or something like that. So it's a little chilly. And I brought with me an Amrita recovery bar. And, it's good. Which is chocolate maca. I have a bike bottle with me, and while I was swimming, I had it full of Powerade that I got, and I just bought the Powerade powdered version. And actually I was going to buy Gatorade, but all they had was Powerade. And made a bottle of it at regular strength. And then so I'd swim easy and then hammer out a 1-minute hard interval, which is about 100 meters. And then stop and, like I was saying earlier, kind of walk easy, 25 yards, and then start swimming again. But I would, after each hard interval, I'd re-energize by taking a sip of a big glug of the Powerade, and that gave me nice even energy throughout the workout. I also was thinking that, ooh, nice motorcycle, squirrel. The people get a little bit concerned, and they should, about doing speed work and interval work, that it's an easy way to get injured. One of the reasons you don't want to do lots of interval work is, you can get I'm cold. Hold on, I'm trying to talk at the same time. You can get injured while doing this stuff because it's the abrupt change of going hard. It's too much stress on the joint or muscle or a tendon or something like that. And that's a concern. And I'm going to tell you how to get around that, so it's not a big deal at all. Okay, and this is how it works. Let's go back to weightlifting again. You should drink. Why in weightlifting do you do 3 sets of intervals instead of just one massive set of intervals until total complete failure and so on and so forth? Why do you break it up into 3 or 4 sets? And then why do you break it up into reps? Why not just lift one super heavy weight one time, right? Well, the reason you don't do that, because you're like, well, that would be a big time saver. If I just completely did one max lift, then about to see a car get eaten up by an 18-wheeler. If I just did one big max lift, wouldn't that stress my muscles out? And then I would be stronger, 2 days later. Yes, theoretically, that would work. The thing is that's really unsafe. So, you watch tough man competitions where they got to lift like a boulder, and then there's a video online of a guy lifting this massive boulder and trying to get it up there, and then he can't do it. And you can see all kinds of videos like this, like bench press or whatever. They try to lift this massive weight, and then it's the absolute most they can do. And then half the time they fall over backwards and the weight crushes them, and then they get injured, and it's like catastrophic. Vomiting, blood, broken bones, and stuff like that, right? It's dangerous. So what you do is you do much less than your potential, and you just do it longer. And we got a traffic jam up ahead. You do it longer, and you do it with reps and sets, so that you're slightly dosing yourself, and then the longer you do it, the harder it gets, and then you quit. Right. So let's talk about, instead of the wrong way to do an interval in the pool would be to do all out max 25 yards, right? Maximum. That's a really good way to get injured. You want to save that for the people that really know what they're doing, very rarely, once in a while. And they don't even do that. It's the shortest is like a 50 once you get older. So instead, you do 100 yards, and the first 25 yards you slowly ramp up to top, what feels like kind of close to top speed, and then see how that's a gradual increase, and then you increase some more over the next 25 yards, and then you try to hold it for another 50 yards, and then by the time you're done with that 50 yards, you're pretty exhausted. But what you're doing is a gradual ramp up over 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds to a max speed or a nice decent effort that's going to fatigue you. And it's that gradual ramp up that avoids the instant shock of going from 0 to 100 as fast as possible. That's what you want to avoid. If you avoid that, you'll greatly reduce injury, Okay. Listening to an audiobook, Scott Adams of Dilbert fame, the author of Dilbert, and it's a very pragmatic, which means practical, approach to productivity and success. It's actually really cool. Chapter 11 of the book is about the most important thing is to maintain your energy levels, and pay attention with kind of meditation, but just paying attention, which is very Zen, to what brings up your energy levels and what brings them down. And then once you master that, and then make sure that you optimize that, then that sets your foundation for the rest of your life and productivity and happiness and getting things done, because you learn to manipulate your energy levels and optimize them so that when you have stuff that you know that needs to get done, you make sure that you know how to have energy for them. So he said that has everything to do with sleep and nutrition and exercise, and then paying attention. If something gives you more energy, this is all about paying attention. It always comes back to the Zen stuff, and it's you pay attention to what gives you more energy, and it's different per person, like I was saying earlier. His example was shopping exhausts him. He doesn't like to shop. And but for some people it's very energizing, And so like me, I kind of like shopping. I think it's fun. But I know one thing that exhausts me is being in a big group of people for too long. I just I don't like it. But cleaning up, another thing is neatening and organizing things actually gives him energy. And see, that's different, right? That's different than some people. Some people neaten and organize to procrastinate. But for some people, it's an energizer. Kind of neaten up some stuff, and then you feel better about yourself, and then that gives you energy, and then you can tackle something that was a little bit more difficult to do. I've got something that I've figured out recently by paying attention. The common mindset is that you should just do the hardest task first. So you got a list of tasks, and you're like, okay, well, I've only got so much energy, so I should do the hardest one first. I'm actually the opposite, and I've found out that I do better by doing smaller tasks first, and it's kind of like a gateway drug, where it's like, oh, I get a little bit of success with this, it gets me momentum and it gets me going, and now that I'm in the task doing mode, I start looking at the harder task and start pecking away at the harder one, and breaking it down into pieces and accomplishing little pieces of it, and then now I've done part of the harder one and might as well just finish it, right? And that's the opposite of eat that frog and all that productivity stuff that they teach. And I only learned that by paying attention. And so you can pay attention too and say, oh, on days that I sleep, if I sleep better at night, then I have a good workout in the morning. And when I have a good workout in the morning, I have a good rest of the day. And then I'm energized. If I eat enough carbs during my morning workout, I'm actually energized throughout the morning. And then Then if I eat enough, that gives me the energy to eat enough protein, like scrambled eggs or whatever, during the morning. And so then during the morning I eat that, and then I have the energy to make a green smoothie, and then that green smoothie makes me happy that I'm in control of my life and not doing stuff, and then it keeps my weight down because that's a lot of veggies. And then with the green smoothie and my weight down and the energy, I don't feel like I need to sleep at lunch or in the afternoon. I don't feel sleepy, and then I get more done, and then I feel good about myself. And then in the evening, I feel like I can go for an evening workout because I've got my life under control and I don't have anxiety. And because of that, I have self-confidence, and I don't need to waste away the evening poking around at the internet and then watching TV and then staying up too late, and then the cycle repeats itself. See? And that's how you manage energy throughout the day. So anyway, Scott Adams, I keep saying Adam. Scott Adams' book. Let me look up the title real quick. It's over here. Hold on. I'm looking. Where'd it go? It is called Hold on, let me get back. How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big. How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams, and it's on Audible. And he's a really good storyteller. He's got some interesting stuff that happened in his life. And basically, the whole gist of the book is that if you don't, you can look at failure as something not to be afraid of. That if you, I think his phrase was pickpocket failure. You try to pluck out of failure things, lessons, and difficulties that can improve you, and then from those, it may not seem like it at the time, but those difficulties become things that you learn and know, right? And then they make you better and better and better. And then eventually you can make your own luck by putting yourself in the right place at the right time, trying to over and over and over again, and eventually something will work out. And all the stuff that you've done and failed at leading up to that will build your skill set, so that when you're finally at a point where it's a perfect storm of stuff that you're in the right place at the right time. All the stuff that you've failed at previously that has taught you lessons, you'll be able to apply those lessons now at the right place and the right time and succeed, right? So let's say it's triathlon racing. You do okay at this race, but you fail at this one part, like one piece of it, and you learn a lesson, and then you learn a lesson, and then you learn a lesson, and then you learn a lesson. Don't do this, don't do that. You start learning, what's important, and then at or like job interviews are a good one too, right? So you do a bunch of job interviews and you don't get the job, but you learn each time, like what to wear and then what to say and what not to say and how to, you just keep improving. And then finally the job comes along that you're applying for, and because you've mastered how to execute, then you say the right thing at the right time, and you do the right things at the right time, and then you get the job that you want. This worked for me in dating, and then when I finally met Emily, I had dated enough where I knew what worked in general, and I pulled out all the stops of all the right things that would work and that typically worked, and then they worked on Emily finally. And that's how I got the girl. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to eat something out, dang. Hello? All right, I'm back. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this show. We got to wrap it up so that we have stuff for another show on down the road. We're getting really close to Austin and the Iron Baby. Which reminds me, you want to support the Iron Baby? Check out zentriathlon.com/Iron Baby. I need to update the page. Maybe I'll do that this weekend for this year. And let's see, that's probably November 9th. And it's a full-on Ironman that I think I mentioned earlier in the show. I got an idea. Somebody proposed to me to they wanted to do this. They want to do the Iron Baby remotely. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? It is a lot of work and energy to put on a race and do it at the same time. Maybe I should angle my efforts to doing to making the race more of a remote thing where people can do it on their own and then just report their results. And thank you for putting on your blinker. And then that becomes more powerful as far as fundraising and fun and number of people's involved. Hey, I'm about to hit a school zone. Let me come back in a second. All right, I'm back. So let's do this. The 2 weeks leading up to the Iron Baby, November 9th, and the 2 weeks after November 9th, that whole range, those whole 5 weekends are the season for the Iron Baby. Out of 5 weekends, I think you could find time. And you go out and do a self-supported something. Make it a triathlon, if you can. And unless you got an injury and you can't do, one of the legs. So triathlon or duathlon, something. And then that is your Iron Baby. And then report back to me. And what I will do is I'll set up a page and we'll put everybody that's doing something, list a link to what you're doing, your best link, like your Twitter account, or if you set up a web page or something like that, to what you're doing. And then we'll count them all as Iron Baby. And then we'll collectively throw in fundraising, and then we'll catch up with each other and then estimate live and with. And if you can do your thing live, that's awesome too. And then we'll use the one that I do as the head of household, I guess. I'll come up with a better phrase for all of them. As the hub of the wheel. And then everybody's a spoke, and then we get this wheel rolling, and we have a lot of fun. So look to my Twitter account, zentriathlon.com, and put on there, or follow it for updates on what I'm doing as far as organizing this. And because coming to College Station, Texas to do an Iron Baby is a lot of work. I mean, we've got people that live in Israel, China, New Zealand, Sweden, all over the place, Central South America, and they want to do this, but they can't come to College Station, Texas, and it's a limiter, so let's think bigger. Let's use the internet and make it even bigger. And if you live in the Texas area and you want to come here, that's cool, and have some good fun. But if not, that's cool as well. How about that? Okay, and then, let's see. I've been doing more food experimentation, and wow, man, does it make a difference. Things may change because we're always wrong about stuff, and I love listening to the Dilbert book. It's really long, which is nice, so it's a good bang for your buck. And the Dilbert book, the Scott Adams book, and because he talks a lot about nutrition and how it shapes your day, and then you're more successful based on your attitude and your mood because of what you eat. And I agree totally. And he's really on track with something. And I seem to be having the same results. And to take it one step further, like I mentioned earlier, I really think there is something to this leveraging your carbs at the right time so that you feel you fill the need for your carbs and you do it while working out, and then the further you get away from working out, the less you need them, but the better you make food choices away from your working out, because you've filled that hole that needs the carbs, and then so you eat healthier and more veggies and protein and fat and stuff away from your workouts. And so much of what we're doing, from what I can tell, is trying to catch up with carbs later when it's not appropriate, and then it leads to hormonal stuff that adds to weight gain and difficulties and frustration and misery, you know. This morning I was getting into the shower, and I've got more abs showing than usual, more than before, and it seems to be headed that direction, you know. And also my watch on my wrist is starting to get loose on my wrist, and it's starting to rub my wrist bone and irritate it. And I'm like, man, that's but it's between sizes. So, but that's new, you know. And it's like I'm getting leaner. My weight's staying about the same, but body fat is leaving, and muscle is being added in the right places, which is all cool. And on top of that, I've noticed this morning I was just in a fantastic mood, and it has to do with eating some sugary stuff before my workout, sugary stuff during my workout, sugary stuff after my workout. But check this out. If you add up the total calories, it's, I don't know, like 400 or something like that. But during my workout, I'm burning like 700. So even if you try, it's almost impossible to eat as much carbs as you need during your workout. And then later, I'm not craving them. And then I'm in a great mood. It's really cool. And let's see, what else do we have? Wait, hold on. All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to do something. But the whole thing about food is mood and leveraging stuff really does seem to work. And we'll talk a lot more about that as we go on through more episodes talking about this. And then also this weekend was past weekend was like a disaster, one after another, and using tools to try to that I've learned over the years to try to, you know, leverage perspective and mood and food and preparedness and all that. I really seem to come out on the positive end of what could have been a really bad situation. You know, I've stepped on a metal spike, but I took the initiative to demand medical treatment as fast as possible, and it seems to possibly have fixed things. And getting help from people when I could, eating the right stuff at the right time, and also doing the stuff at the right time. And a lot of times doing what you know is the right thing to do, even though you don't want to do it, it sets you up for a better environment so that you get the right stuff done, you know. So and it's the basics, you know. Eating right and sleeping right made me able to handle a really tough training situation that I got it done anyway, in spite of everything. And it's because I had the energy to do it, because I felt great, because of eating and sleeping, right? And I think that's it for the show. Yeah, we've got the Austin 70.3 coming up. We've got peak training. Well, we've already done the peak training. Tapering, more nutrition stuff, and more interval stuff, of course. All right, that's it. Everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out. Oh, wait, I forgot. Hey, if you found anything of what I said useful or inspirational or something that you want to use and you want to give back, please find the donation button on the left side of ZenTriathlon.com. It makes a huge difference in the podcast and what I do, and also Emily allowing me to do what I do when it helps pay the bills. She's a big fan of ZenTri when she looks at the PayPal account, and we're trying to save up for stuff like Kai's bike or a race entry fee or bike equipment. And she's like, yeah. She's connected the dots that ZenTri helps pay the bills, and we're doing it through giving advice and training tips and such, and people give back. So if you feel like it, that it's really helped you out and you want to give back, that's how you can. Left side of zentriathlon.com, and there's a PayPal link right there. All right, that's it, everybody. Rock it out. Bang.